Welcome to the Marvelous Work and a Wonder Worldwide Radio Talk Show. At no time during the history of our world has a place existed where a person can go and ask any question about their human existence and have that question answered with authority, clarity, and completeness. During this radio talk show, many of the great and marvelous things that have been hidden from our understanding since the foundation of this world will be revealed. We've always known these real truths. They exist, hidden in the back of our mind within the confines of our imagination. Within the human mind, seeds of imagination sprout into belief systems of philosophy and religion. But these do not answer the basic questions of our existence. Who are we, and why do we exist? Religion and philosophy have produced fruits of discord, prejudice, and hate. These things are destroying our humanity. The purpose of the Marvelous Work and a Wonder is to introduce the real truth about our existence as human beings. Within its answers, the solutions to our human problems are found. Most of our problems are a cause of our ignorance, and our current experience upon this earth manifests the influence of this ignorance. This show is where current reality meets real truth.
There's a fascinating phenomenon happening in our world today. Beautiful, elaborate, and spectacular religious temples have been built and are continually being built throughout the world. What are these amazing structures? What purpose do they serve? Mormon temples can be found throughout the entire world. Investigations into the concepts of Mormonism have never been greater. With the emergence of this religion on the world stage, and because of its members' effect on many important aspects of politics, entertainment, business, and other social issues that relate to people's lives outside of this faith, the influence and doings of one of the richest churches per capita in the entire world cannot and should not be ignored. And the greatest emotional motivating factors that control its members, the things that influence how they view and deal with the rest of the world, are instilled into their minds in their holy temples. It is here where they receive ordinances that only faithful Mormons can receive. There are currently 139 operating temples, 15 under construction, and another 14 announced by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And if the LDS Church meets its expectations, one day there will be a temple in every country, in every city, and in every community of the world. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believes that it is the only true and living church of God upon the earth. This church sends tens of thousands of missionaries into the world each year to convince others of this belief. Mormons believe that one day, when their Christ returns to the world, it will be the only religion that exists upon earth. And when it is the only church upon the earth, LDS Mormons believe that temple ordinance work will become the world's main emphasis under the direction of their Christ. LDS Mormon attitude, influenced by their temple ordinances, is responsible for how this religion's members treat other people. This attitude towards those who reject their faith is largely responsible for many societal persecutions, strife, and much contention. Convinced of their religion's worldwide absoluteness, Mormons wield subtle power that negatively affects the lives and free will of others. But what do members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believe that caused this attitude? What was instilled in their minds from the time that they enter primary Sunday school at a very young age until the time that they become adults and enter the temple to be taught its ordinances and rituals? Besides the belief that no other religion is true, Mormons are taught that God has given mortal men his divine power through recognized priesthood authority lines. They are taught that a person cannot be saved unless one is baptized and receives other priesthood-authorized ordinances. And they are taught that a person cannot enter the highest kingdom of God, nor reside with one's family in the afterlife, unless one receives the Holy Temple Endowment. There is a deep emotional cost that the LDS Mormon attitude has on the rest of the world. But is there a monetary cost to be able to attend the temple and receive its ordinances? To enter the temple, a worthy member must receive what's called a temple recommend. Members must meet strict LDS policy and belief requirements in order to be recommended to receive temple ordinances. Among these requirements is a required substantial monetary cost. Members are convinced that the most important sacrifice that they can make to God is 10% of their income. From the time of their earliest training, they are inculcated to believe that paying tithing is one of the best ways to please God. Members are required to pay a full tithe in order to receive temple ordinances. At a young age, LDS Mormons are taught to believe that tithing is the Lord's law, and if they don't pay it, they very well could burn when their Christ comes again. This fear appears to secure the financial success of one of the world's richest churches. This mandated law of tithing enables the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to build some of the world's most extravagant and expensive yet beautiful buildings. So what happens inside LDS temples? There are few buildings that match the beauty and majestic furnishings of the interior decor of LDS temples. There is no doubt that these temples are adorned with the finest of furnishings from the substance and money that the Mormon Church can afford. Inside their temples, faithful members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints receive what they call the Holy Endowment. The Holy Endowment is the name of the highest and most important religious ordinance that a Mormon can receive. The LDS Church does not claim that this highly important ordinance is a secret, but they do honor it as being holy and sacred. Most Mormons would agree, however, that the endowment's true meaning is hidden within the symbolic presentation of the ordinance itself. But no Mormon, not even their highest leaders and authorities, can explain how this ordinance came to be, what its symbolism actually means, where it came from, when it became what it is today, and most importantly, who created it. What is the holy endowment that is practiced in LDS Mormons' temples? What does the word endowment mean? The definition of endowment is to give or supply something, or to provide and make something available to others. In the early 1800s, Joseph Smith Jr. wanted to endow people or teach them the things that he had learned about our existence as human beings. Joseph claimed to have known the real truth. In the Scriptures, this real truth is referred to as the mysteries of God. Joseph taught that the real truth is a knowledge of things as they are, and as they were, and as they are to come. He taught that real truth does not change, cannot change, that it is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He also knew something else, something very important to his own survival. Joseph Smith Jr. knew that the early LDS people would have rejected or killed him if he had told them the real truth. And there's no doubt that if modern LDS Mormon people knew what Joseph knew, they would also reject him. Mormon history verifies that Joseph often told his followers that they would rise up against him and kill him if he ever revealed to them everything that he knew. Their own history states, quote, "Brethren, if I were to tell you all I know of the kingdom of God, I do know that you would rise up and kill me." Brother Brigham arose and said, "Don't tell me anything that I can't bear, for I don't want to apostatize." Quote, If I revealed all that has been made known to me, scarcely a man on this stand would stay with me. The prophet Joseph said to me, Brigham Young, about 16 years ago at Kirtland, if I was to show the Latter-day Saints all the revelations that the Lord has shown unto me, there is scarce a man that would stay with me. They could not bear it. Quote, would to God, brethren, I could tell you who I am. Would to God I could tell you what I know, but you would call it blasphemy and want to take my life. Joseph would never disclose his true identity to the people, nor did he teach them the real truth. Most of his closest friends, including almost all the special witnesses to the authenticity of the gold plates from which came the Book of Mormon, turned on Joseph and became his enemies, some of them bitterly, and eventually, with the help of some non-believers, some of his former friends had him killed. The original temple endowment was a play that Joseph wrote in 1842, 2 years before he was killed. The presentation of the play was full of hidden symbolism and clues that revealed things that only Joseph Smith knew that he did not tell his followers. Alone, Joseph wrote an extraordinary play that presented a synopsis of everything that he had learned about real truth. Along with what his critics referred to as a very creative mind, Joseph Smith was an extraordinary playwright, evidenced by his production of the LDS Temple Endowment. He wrote, produced, and directed one of the most extraordinary and spectacular presentations that had ever been created to reveal hidden religious mysteries. Hidden within its presentation were things that had never been revealed since the foundation of the world, things that nobody else knew, things that the world was not ready to receive, things that the people would have rejected anyway, and things that would have otherwise gotten him killed had he revealed them in plainness. This part of LDS Mormon history is something that modern Mormon leaders would rather that their followers never knew. The modern LDS Church hides many things about its history that it does not want the world to know. Many things are even withheld from the LDS Mormon membership. A shroud of secrecy and ignorance permeates the Mormon attitude about its own history. Yet, millions of LDS members participate in the endowment every year and have no idea what the different symbolic parts of the endowment represent. They are never taught exactly where it came from, how it was changed, and what it really means, or at least what it meant to its creator, Joseph Smith. The Temple Endowment has become much more of a secret than anything else in Mormonism. The great confusion about the LDS Temple Endowment is increased and spread by those who should understand it but do not. The LDS Church introduces the ordinance to its young missionaries before they are sent on missions throughout the world. These teenagers tell the world that all people, alive or dead, must receive temple ordinances to be saved in the kingdom of God. But when they are asked to explain what the ordinance means, these teenagers don't have a clue. They hide their ignorance behind the counsel of their leaders to not discuss the temple endowment. The world is used to seeing tens of thousands of young Mormon missionaries, but they can't answer any questions. Why should they be expected at age 18 and 19 to understand anything other than what they are taught to understand in order to fulfill their mission and sell the LDS Church? Yet not even the highest authorities in the Church understand the origins and original purpose of the modern temple endowment. Mormons believe that these men, the 12 apostles, have a special relationship with Jesus Christ, similar to what the biblical story presents of Jesus' ancient 12 disciples. But none of these men, not one, knows the true purpose behind the temple endowment. And one thing about its history that the LDS Church attempts to hide from its own members is the real truth about the organization of the original quorum of the 12 apostles in Joseph Smith's day. Joseph Smith Jr. had nothing to do with calling 12 men to become the first apostles of the early church. Joseph distanced himself from organizing this body of men. These men were elected and appointed by the 3 witnesses to the Book of Mormon, 3 men who eventually rejected Joseph Smith and rose up to persecute him. One of the real truths that Joseph knew that the people would have surely rejected was that all organized religion in any way, shape, or form, including all religious tenets, are a product of mortal human nature and had no part of a divine mandate. This he taught symbolically without question in his presentation of the temple endowment. We will get to this a little bit later in this video. For this very reason, Joseph Smith himself had nothing to do with the organization of the highest group of men in the LDS Church priesthood hierarchy, the quorum of the 12 apostles. According to the symbolism of Joseph's endowment, these men were and are led by Lucifer. This lack of understanding and the fact that the Mormon Church hides its true history, along with its claims that a person cannot reach heaven with God without the temple endowment, and its claim of being the only true church of God upon the earth, has caused many to mock the LDS Mormon people and the very endowment that they hold sacred. This mocking is done in ignorance, but justified because no one can properly explain exactly what the temple endowment means. To understand how Joseph's play evolved into what it has become today, the highest ordinance of the LDS Mormon faith, we need to consider what happened after Joseph and his brother Hiram were killed in June of 1844. After the brothers were killed, Joseph and Hiram's families were divided on who should take Joseph's place. Brigham Young's strong personality took charge, and he was able to convince a lot of people, including Hiram Smith's family, that he was the one who should take Joseph's place and lead the church. Young led many out west and laid the foundation for what evolved into the modern Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Joseph's family, on the other hand, which included his mother Lucy Mack Smith, his wife Emma, and his oldest son Joseph Smith III, vehemently disagreed with Young. They stayed back in Nauvoo and reorganized the church. The reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints leaders, it's now known as the Community of Christ Church, had a completely different view of what Joseph intended for the endowment. The argument still remains today of who was right and who was wrong. Or were both groups wrong? Both groups are wrong. Very wrong. The contention over the temple endowment started when Joseph showed his play for the first time in May of 1842. It was in the city of Nauvoo on the upper floor of his red brick store, where Joseph set up the first stage, along with the veils, curtains, tapestries, scenery, and stage props that were required to present his play. These humble beginnings eventually evolved into the beautiful, ornate, and opulent theaters where the endowment is presented in modern LDS temples. Exactly how Joseph's play evolved into the most sacred and honored ordinance of the modern LDS faith is an important part, possibly the most important part to consider in understanding the LDS temple endowment. To understand how it evolved into what it has become, we need to return again to its humble beginnings in Joseph's red brick store in May of 1842. Joseph needed actors to play the parts for his play. He asked 9 men and 1 woman to attend the first rehearsal and play the parts. Who these men are and what they did after Joseph Smith was killed is of the utmost importance in understanding what happened to the temple endowment when Joseph wasn't around to oversee and direct it any longer. The contention and misunderstanding started when Joseph presented an outline of his play to these men and to Eliza R. Snow. None of them could figure out what Joseph's deep symbolism meant. None of them would ever figure it out. Eventually, after considering what Joseph intended for his play and jockeying for the best roles, each was specifically assigned to play a character. When the early Mormons first saw Joseph's play, Brigham had been assigned to play Elohim, Heber C. Kimball to play Jehovah, Willard Richards played Michael, Newell K. Whitney was assigned to play Adam, Eliza R. Snow, the only woman, played Eve, and Hiram played the role of Peter, James Adams played James, and George Miller played the role of John. The 2 remaining parts were first assigned to James Adams, who played both parts, but when it came time to present the play to the public for the first time, Joseph divided the 2 roles played by Adams and assigned William Marks to play an Orthodox preacher, and William Law to play Lucifer. In any play production, the actors compete for the best roles, each wanting to play the lead role. It was with much hesitation, with some prodding from Joseph's sense of humor, that finally convinced Law that playing Lucifer, who was one of the main characters, was just as important and necessary as any of the others. Reluctantly, Law accepted the part and played Lucifer. And when Joseph Smith presented William Law with his costume, Law was not the only one in the group who gasped. Joseph gave Law his own Masonic apron and told him to wear it as a representation of Lucifer's, quote, power and priesthoods, unquote. It was the same type of apron that George Washington wore when he laid the cornerstone for the U.S. Capitol building 50 years earlier. Not only was Joseph's choice of wardrobe for Lucifer's character mocking the Masons, but it mocked the very patriotic foundation of one of the most beloved U.S. institutions. When a few of the men protested, Joseph explained that he was symbolically representing that the United States government was controlled by the power and influence of Lucifer. Again, it took a lot of convincing to get William Law to play the part, and some of the other men present were not amused at Joseph's insistence to present Lucifer in this manner. But at the time, the men still thought Joseph was an inspired prophet of God, so they suppressed their discontent and went along with the play under Joseph's direction. Joseph's ties to Freemasonry have led to a lot of speculation about how he felt about it. Although Joseph incorporated many Masonic rituals, signs, tokens, and penalties into his play, Joseph personally detested Freemasonry, but never revealed this fact in public, another thing that would have gotten him killed, but was partly responsible for why he was. His hidden aversion to and his mockery of it were obvious when we review his history with the Masons. Both his father, Joseph Sr., and his brother Hiram were Masons, as well as many other leaders of the early LDS Church. But Joseph never joined until an opportunity presented itself around the time he was putting together his endowment play. If Freemasonry was so important, then why didn't Joseph join until then? Joseph allowed a Masonic lodge to be installed in Nauvoo, Illinois. On March 15th, he officiated over its installation. He had only one purpose in mind, however, when he joined, and no one but he knew what this purpose was. The very next day, he rose to the sublime degree of Master Mason. Once inserted into one of Freemasonry's highest degrees and familiarizing himself with the token, signs, and symbols that were used in the Masonic rituals, Joseph borrowed many of them and incorporated them in the presentation of his temple endowment play. When he introduced the play just 2 months later to the men whom he had chosen, and to Eliza Snow, many who were faithful Masons themselves, there was obviously some deeply hidden anger. What the faithful LDS Mormons will never accept is who turned Joseph into the Illinois Grand Master. It was Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball who were the first to complain about Joseph's mockery of Masonic rituals. Because of the complaints lodged against him, Joseph was kicked out of Masonry just a couple of months later. But he kept using the Mason rituals in his endowment anyway. Because those who first saw the endowment play didn't understand it, they argued amongst themselves after Joseph was killed. Hiram was killed with Joseph, and James Adams had died the year before. And of course, Eliza Snow was a woman and had no voice in the matter. Among those who remained, there arose a great division of opinion of what Joseph intended for the endowment, neither side understanding its true meaning and purpose. Brigham Young rewarded those who agreed with him with the first leadership positions in his new church. The others would reorganize what they believed were Joseph's true teachings. Both groups would get it wrong. Very wrong. So what did Joseph know that these men wouldn't have accepted or understood? What did Joseph know that would have gotten him killed? The following are some of the real truths that Joseph Smith knew, which he hid within symbolism that was presented in his endowment play. Where each one is hidden in the endowment will be shown later in this video. Joseph knew that many people felt a connection to some higher power. They have sought for further light and knowledge or an endowment of information from on high. Existing upon the earth sometimes feels like we're living in a lone and dreary world. Feeling alone, humans hold the belief that they can talk to God in heaven and that God will hear and answer their prayers. From this belief, many of the great religions of the world have developed. But Joseph knew that all these beliefs and everything that consists of a religion were simply the philosophies of men mingled with Scripture. Scripture was a written word that was invented by the power of human nature and thought, fueled by imagination. Joseph knew that there was no such being as a God who hears and answers prayers. He knew that a person's own mind is the source of all personal inspiration and revelation. Joseph knew that Lucifer is not an actual being. He knew that human nature, the weakness and frailties of the human mind, is responsible for the bad things that we do to each other. Joseph knew that all religion, including even the LDS Church that he suffered to be organized under his name, were abominations to our true humanity. Joseph knew that we are all equal gods, that human beings are eternal, highly advanced life forms that have existed and never change. This was an extraordinary concept that Joseph knew, that every human being is an equal God, or rather an advanced eternal being, and that we have existed forever, never changing, being the same yesterday, today, and forever. The things that Joseph knew about our existence as human beings were great and marvelous, beyond the imagination and understanding of any person who had ever lived. Joseph knew that this mortal life was simply a dream occurring in the mind of our eternal, true self. He knew that our experience in this universe is simply that, an experience of a much greater, eternal, perfect human being. During our time in this universe, which is simply an experience that our highest self is having, we are created as advanced human beings. The solar system where we live is the part of the universe that we personally own. It is the place where we will live as long as we remain a part of this universe. Eventually, we become mortal, so that we can have the experience of an opposition of our true natures. And when we are finished being mortals upon the present earth, during which time we experience multiple lives during different time periods, we return again to living as advanced human beings. But the one real truth, the one fact that is so hard for people to grasp, especially during Joseph's time, a fact that the people of his day couldn't have possibly understood, is that all of our experience in this universe happens inside the brain of our highest true self, as advanced, eternal human beings. And how could Joseph have explained that as eternal, perfect human beings, we have the ability to utilize a highly advanced wireless energy program that allows us to create new experience? How could he have possibly explained how we interact with other equally advanced humans who participate in the same program and have experiences with us, similar to how computer games work in our world today? All of us connected by a highly advanced technology that allows us to create new experience with each other. The known universe is the program's main platform. Our experiences in this universe take place inside our eternal human brain. This is where we create a new character that allows us to have new experiences. It is where our current mortal experience is actually taking place. All of this giving us the capability of an infinite amount of experience. Joseph Smith knew that everything that we experience in this universe actually occurs in our eternal minds exactly how dreams are experienced in our mortal ones. While we are dreaming, we feel real emotions. We feel pain, we feel sorrow, we can feel fear, as well as joy and extreme elation. We participate and interact with others while we dream, sharing the experience with what seem to us to be real people and real relationships. All of these real truths are hidden in the symbolism of the endowment play that the Mormon people receive when they go to the temple. But seeing they do not see, hearing they do not understand. Joseph Smith knew many other great and marvelous things that he hid in the symbolism of his temple endowment presentation. But before we learn how Joseph hid these things in his presentation of the temple endowment, we need to consider how Joseph received his knowledge and intelligence. Who taught him, and when did Joseph learn these important real truths? Joseph Smith claimed to have received his information from 3 different sources: directly from the mouth of advanced human beings, through the use of the Urim and Thummim, and from the counseling of semi-mortal mentors. On April 6, 1820, when he was a young teenager, Joseph was visited by an advanced human being who revealed the existence of other humans in the universe that were not part of this world. He was taught about the foolishness of religion and the problems that it created upon earth. He was told that he would one day be instrumental in doing a work that would provide incredible information to the world, information that had been hidden since its foundation. Although his story would change over time as he attempted to protect what he really knew and found out during his first meeting with an advanced human, Joseph eventually presented the event as what has become known as the first vision. But he never disclosed to anyone what actually took place during this meeting, and if he had, who in the world would have believed him? Many years after the event, a few years before he was killed, Joseph presented a story that he knew the people could accept. He claimed to have been visited by two personages whose brightness and glory defy all description. This description of the event was much easier to swallow for believing Christians than what really occurred. The real truth is, the government head of this solar system sat down with Joseph like anyone would with a teenager and taught him many things about the universe that no other mortal human knew. And he counseled Joseph not to reveal these things in public. The appearance of the angel Moroni was the second visitation that Joseph received from an advanced human. One of the things that Christians would have never accepted had Joseph revealed it was that he knew that there were no such beings as angels. Moroni was simply a name he used to refer to one of the advanced human beings from whom he received knowledge and intelligence. There's a statue on top of most LDS temples. It represents an angel called Moroni pointing his trumpet eastward, heralding in Christ's second coming to the earth. But who was this angel? What significant role does he play in Mormon history? For all intents and purposes, Moroni was the advanced human editor and author of the Book of Mormon. Mormons believe that the Book of Mormon is just as or even more important than the Bible. But the Book of Mormon's true purpose is far from what the LDS Mormon people understand it to be. The Book of Mormon's true purpose was to counter the prejudice of the Bible. It was intelligently designed to bring value to the Native American people by providing scriptural evidence that the American Indians were just as chosen and valued by God as anyone else. The Book of Mormon was invented and presented to the world to convince the Bible-believing white people that the Native Americans whom they were persecuting at the time were equally a part of the house of Israel and just as important in God's eyes as the chosen Jews. Its intent was to help bring peace to a world that was under the influence of a Bible that had produced great racial inequality and prejudice. There was no other purpose for the Book of Mormon. Absolutely none. But no matter how clear the Book of Mormon's stories taught its intent and purpose, the people who received it in Joseph's day could not see the moral of the story presented in the new scripture. These white people rejected its intent, stole its prophecies and turned them into white man prophecies, and desired a church of priesthood and ordinances, rejecting the very idea taught in the Book of Mormon that all human beings, regardless of race, gender, or economic status, are equally endowed with the same rights and powers. They rejected the fact that all human beings, even the heathen, are loved and respected and deserve 100% equal treatment in all things. So how was Moroni responsible for the coming forth of the Book of Mormon? Understanding how an advanced human wrote the Book of Mormon is much easier to accept now that we have evidence of more advanced technology than what was at Joseph Smith's disposal in the early 1800s. The advanced human Moroni lives on another planet in a solar system located close to our own. Joseph lived upon this earth. Using even more advanced technology than what we have today, Moroni sent the words that he wanted Joseph to write in the Book of Mormon as text messages, similar to how a cell phone works today. Joseph was provided with a highly advanced cell phone, per se, that he called the Urim and Thummim. Other more advanced human societies exist in the universe and have always had the ability to oversee what is happening on Earth. Throughout the history of humans upon this earth, there has always been one chosen messenger with whom these advanced societies can communicate. Because these advanced humans are restricted in intervening in our affairs, thus impeding our free will, they are allowed to choose and teach just one messenger with whom they make contact and reveal their true existence. And this true messenger's purpose? To deliver a message. Thousands of years ago, before electronics, metals, plastics, and modern energy frequencies were discovered and used by humans upon the earth, an advanced human being constructed a cell phone out of ordinary quartz rocks. This being took two pieces of quartz and integrated the necessary advanced technological components into the rocks that turned them into a highly advanced communication device. This device was disguised as two ordinary rocks so as not to appear of any worth. Who would want to steal two ordinary common rocks? When an authorized person holds the two rocks in each hand and touches them together, the circuitry that makes the device operate is complete. The authorized messenger's own energy is the battery that provides the power for the Urim and Thummim. The story was told that when Joseph Smith was 17 years old, he'd received a visitation from Moroni. Moroni told Joseph about some hidden plates of gold and explained that Joseph would one day translate the plates. Moroni gave Joseph the Urim and Thummim to help him. His translation eventually became the published Book of Mormon. When Joseph Smith held the Urim and Thummim over the gold plates and touched them together, the words that Moroni sent to him to use for the Book of Mormon narrative appeared. But before he translated and published the Book of Mormon in 1830, Joseph claimed to have met with Moroni every year for 4 years and received instruction and intelligence. Mormon history has never explained what the intelligence was that Joseph Smith received from Moroni during these years, because Joseph never told anyone. During these 4 years, Joseph learned many things. But what was it that he learned in 1824 when he was just 18 years old, in 1825 when he was 19, in 1826 when he was 20? And what did he know by the time he was just 21 years old and ready to translate the gold plates into the Book of Mormon? Mormon critics believe that it was during these years that Joseph gathered the information and intelligence that he would need to produce the Book of Mormon himself. It is believed that Joseph invented the Book of Mormon, along with the story that he told everyone that led up to its publication in 1830. But there's no doubt that the Book of Mormon contains some incredible information, regardless of where it came from. There's no doubt that it contains brilliantly designed storylines that captivate the attention of the reader. If millions of intelligent and powerful people have read the book and believe that it is true, then it must have the ability and power to convince even the most educated and respected minds in this world. So how did an uneducated teenager put this powerful and thought-provoking book together? How did he invent it, if he did, during those 4 years? The modern LDS Church forgets to include it in its history, especially the history it presents to the world, about the existence and relevance of 4 other men who, besides the angel Moroni, mentored and instructed Joseph Smith during these 4 years of his life. The LDS Church does not mention these men because Mormon leaders have nothing to do with the 3 Nephites and John the Beloved. Joseph claimed to have received help and instruction from these men. Their names were recently revealed as Timothy, Mathoni, Mathoniah, and of course, John. Combined, these men have over 8,000 years of experience upon this earth. Who better to mentor the young teenager in preparing to launch a work that could eventually affect the minds and beliefs of millions of people in the world? But were Joseph Smith's claims true? Joseph's claims, as radical as they might seem, are not the information that he gave to the world. How he claimed to have received his information and intelligence does not necessarily negate its truthfulness. An important question that one must consider is, was the information that Joseph revealed to the world true? And even more important still, was the information that he gave the people the same information and intelligence that he had received from his mentors? The answer is simple: no. Had he, the people would have rejected him and possibly killed him. Just a few years before they did kill him, Joseph created the temple endowment and hid within its creation all the things that he had kept from the people, everything that would have gotten him killed sooner had he revealed what he knew. When he was alive, Joseph wanted to share what he knew with the people. He left clues to let the people know that it is possible to know the real truth of all things. Some of Joseph's writings read, "If thou shalt ask, thou shalt receive revelation upon revelation, knowledge upon knowledge, that thou mayest know the mysteries." The first time Joseph used the word endowment was in the spring of 1829 while he and Oliver Cowdery were translating the Book of Mormon. While Oliver was transcribing the 12th chapter of Alma, he wrote the following words from Joseph's mouth. And he that will not harden his heart, to him is given the greater portion of the word, until it is given unto him to know the mysteries of God, until he know them in full. Oliver stopped writing and interrupted Joseph. Is this possible, Joseph? Oliver exclaimed. Can a man know the mysteries of God in full? Smiling profusely at the thought that someone just might learn what he already knew, Joseph answered, It is possible, Oliver. One can imagine just how excited Oliver Cowdery became as he considered the possibility of knowing the mysteries of God. How can we know the mysteries of God in full? Oliver questioned. Joseph had Oliver reread what he had just written. Oliver read, It is given unto many to know the mysteries of God. Nevertheless, they are laid under a strict command that they shall not impart, only according to the portion of his word which he doth grant unto the children of men, according to the heed and diligence which they give unto him. Go on, Joseph insisted. Oliver continued reading. He that will harden his heart, the same receiveth the lesser portion of the word. And he that will not harden his heart, to him is given the greater portion of the word, until it is given unto him to know the mysteries of God, until he know them in full. Throughout his entire life, Oliver Cowdery would never know a single mystery of God. Not one. Few men became more hardened towards Joseph Smith than Oliver Cowdery. Oliver would never deny his testimony of the Book of Mormon, however, but he never quite grasped the concept that the Book of Mormon itself is the lesser portion of the word that is given to the people who have hardened their hearts, and one who reads it will never understand the mysteries of God in full. Of Oliver Cowdery, Joseph would proclaim one day, quote, There are few men who have been taken captive by the devil and led by his will down to destruction like the very witnesses to this Book of Mormon, unquote. To understand what the lesser portion of the word is compared to the greater portion of the word, we need to consider the gold plates. The lesser part of the plates was translated and eventually became the published Book of Mormon. This is the lesser portion of the word described in the scripture that concerned Oliver Cowdery. Mormons dismiss the value, however, of the most important part of the gold plate, the greater portion of the word, which was sealed by two bands so that Joseph could not translate it. This greater portion of the word contained the great and marvelous things which have been hid up from the foundation of the world, unquote. The sealed portion of the gold plates, the greater portion of the mysteries of God, would be given to the people if they didn't harden their hearts against the lesser portion, which is the unsealed part that became the Book of Mormon. Joseph knew that if the people rejected the true purpose of the unsealed lesser portion, the Book of Mormon, they would not be able to have the greater sealed portion that would eventually lead them to a better understanding of the mysteries of God until they knew them in full. After Joseph was killed in 1844, no one on either side of the competing Mormon factions understood even one of the mysteries of God. Brigham Young's church would survive to deny people of dark skin the priesthood. It denied women the priesthood and subjugated them to Brigham's own doctrine of plural marriage. It would deny the same church blessings to those who did not follow strict church policy. Brigham's church would eventually show great inequality in the economic classes of its members. Eventually, upon rejecting the true purpose of their Book of Mormon, the LDS people would disregard the very verses of Scripture that pertain to them and to their great temples. Of the modern LDS people, Moroni would write hundreds of years in the past, Behold, I speak unto you as if ye were present, and yet ye are not. But behold, Jesus Christ hath shown you unto me, and I know your doing. For behold, ye do love money and your substance and your fine apparel and the adorning of your churches more than ye love the poor and the needy, the sick and the afflicted. O ye pollutions, ye hypocrites, ye teachers who sell yourself for that which will canker. Why have ye polluted the holy church of God? The adorning of their churches would become a status symbol of their pretended righteousness as their beautiful and extravagant church buildings spread throughout the world. Their fine apparel would be required dress to attend their churches and temples. And to drive home their blatant hypocrisy and disregard of their own scriptures, the LDS Church would spend billions of dollars on a shopping mall built directly adjacent to one of their most treasured temples in Salt Lake City, Utah. Instead of seeing themselves as the hypocrites of their own scripture, the LDS Mormon people see themselves as the most blessed people upon the earth. In Joseph's day, the people were no different. Like modern LDS Mormons, early Mormons rejected the true purpose of the Book of Mormon. They looked way beyond its intended mark. This forced Joseph under mandate to fulfill the Book of Mormon's own prophecy. Wherefore, because of their blindness, which blindness came by looking beyond the mark, they must needs fall. For God hath taken away his plainness from them, and delivered unto them many things which they cannot understand, because they desired it. And because they desired it, God hath done it, that they may stumble. Joseph was commanded to give the people things that they couldn't understand, because they desired them. Joseph Smith set the stage for delivering to the people things that they couldn't understand in fulfillment of Book of Mormon prophecy. The people had rejected the true purpose of the Book of Mormon. They rejected the simplicity of the fullness of the everlasting gospel as delivered by the Savior to the ancient ancestors of the Native American people, which is the overall premise and purpose of the Book of Mormon. The LDS people desired churches and temples, an organization of priesthood authority and ordinances of salvation that they believe in their pride and arrogance will exalt them above all other people of the earth. Because the LDS people have looked way beyond the simplicity of doing good to others and loving one's neighbor and enemy as oneself, their own temple endowment has become their greatest stumbling block. They do not understand anything about its true purpose and intent. Joseph incorporated into his endowment the fact that the Mormon people had been taken captive by the devil and led by Lucifer in the development of their own religion. He does this in the following way through the symbolism of the temple endowment presentation. At one point during the presentation of the endowment, the participants are presented with the scenery of the celestial world called the lone and dreary world. Joseph directs the characters who play Peter and Lucifer to stand in front of the audience. Peter confronts the character Lucifer and asks, "What are you doing here?" Lucifer responds, "Teaching religion." "What religion do you teach?" "We teach a religion made of the philosophies of men mingled with Scripture." Then Peter, directed by Joseph to extend his arms out towards the people receiving the endowment in the temple, asks, "How is your religion received by this community?" Lucifer responds, also directed by Joseph to extend his arm out towards the people who were receiving the endowment. "Very well." Joseph was trying to tell the people who were receiving the endowment, and remember, only faithful LDS Mormons see this presentation, that they were being led by the devil. Joseph knew that the development of their own religion, which modernly is called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, was a product of the philosophies of men mingled with Scripture. The endowment would teach that Lucifer is the source of all organized religion, including the LDS Church. This was something that Joseph could have never plainly revealed to people in his day, or they would have killed him. And what would be even more dangerous to his life had he revealed it, Joseph knew that there were no such beings as Lucifer, Satan, and the devil. He knew that any relation of this type of supernatural being was the invention of the imagination of men. He knew that thought originated in a person's own brain, thus influenced by quote-unquote Lucifer, and that from this brain, from its prejudices, opinions, and experience, religious beliefs developed ever since mankind had been upon the earth. He knew that the source of all inspiration and revelation came from the imagination of the natural man, an enemy of God, quote-unquote, since humans were first placed upon this earth. Joseph Smith knew that the Bible, as well as all other scripture that existed at the time, were inventions of quote-unquote Lucifer. And still more dangerous to his life if he would have revealed it, Joseph knew that there was no God who heard and answered prayers. In his temple endowment, Joseph would teach symbolically that only Lucifer, the god of this world, hears and answers prayers. Joseph knew that there were no such beings as the devil as people supposed. He knew that the real definition of the devil was, quote quite a different person from what the people believe the devil is, unquote. He knew that the natural man, the greatest enemy of God, was the only Lucifer that existed. Thus he presented Lucifer as a human man in human form throughout the presentation of the endowment. Joseph knew that when people prayed to God with the words of their mouth, kneeling or bowing in prayer, Lucifer, the natural man, their own thoughts, was the only thing that would hear and answer their prayers, thus creating the problems that religion has caused in our world. He presented the concept of Lucifer answering spoken prayers in the following manner in the presentation of the LDS endowment. In the room representing life upon this earth as we know it, the character Adam, who represents all men, and Eve, who represents all women, are seen kneeling and praying at an altar. Adam prays, "O God, hear the words of my mouth. O God, hear the words of my mouth. O God, hear the words of my mouth." The actor who plays Lucifer approaches from behind and says, "I hear you. What is it that you want?" To which Adam responds, "Who are you?" "I am the God of this world," says Lucifer. "You, the God of this world?" Adam asks. "Yes. What do you want?" Lucifer replies. In the original endowment, Adam's character says, "I am looking for messengers." And also in the original endowment, Lucifer responds, "Oh, you want someone to preach to you. You want religion, do you? I will have preachers here presently." Originally, Joseph had an actor assigned to play a preacher who showed up with Lucifer and began to preach to Adam. In 1990, the LDS Church took out the preacher and all of the penalties that were associated with the signs and tokens that Joseph had incorporated into the endowment that had special meaning. And because the LDS leaders didn't have a clue what Joseph meant, they have liberally changed the endowment over the years. In his own church, Brigham Young took complete control. He made the endowment his own and changed some aspects of it to conform to what he wanted it to be. The endowment that is presently known and practiced in the LDS temples is a product of Brigham Young. Although patterned after Joseph's original endowment in many ways, there were changes made by Brigham Young and later by subsequent LDS leaders that completely distorted and corrupted the original intent and purpose of Joseph's endowment. Brigham Young would blur the original endowment. Among the changes that he made, Young would introduce blood atonement as an oath of vengeance into his endowment. This oath required each participant to, quote, "covenant and promise that you will pray and never cease to pray to Almighty God to avenge the blood of the prophets upon this nation, and that you will teach the same to your children and to your children's children until the third and fourth generations." As Brigham's church grew out west, some of its doctrines changed as LDS principles clashed with the developing liberal culture in the growing United States of America. Major changes in LDS doctrine challenged the claim that the church was in its perfect form. After Joseph's death, and without the direction of the only man who understood its true meaning, the LDS temple endowment went through many changes. In 1845, Brigham Young turned a play into a required ordinance in order for members to enter the celestial kingdom, the highest realm of the LDS afterlife, something Joseph Smith never mentioned before. In 1877, the ordinance was performed for the dead, in order that those who had died without accepting Mormonism would also have a chance at reaching the celestial kingdom. The oath of vengeance was removed in 1930, as well as other graphic wording, and the play became a film in the 1960s. The temple garments began to evolve and change during the 1970s, and to get it where it is today, some major changes were made to the presentation in 1990. Joseph attempted to symbolically present most of the real truth that he understood. How he did it demonstrates his genius and understanding that only a fully mortal man who knew the mysteries of God in full could have. The following is how Joseph presented the idea that all humans are equal, eternal, highly advanced life forms that have always existed and never change. Humans are equal gods, each and every one. To present what he knew about advanced human beings, Joseph begins the presentation of the endowment by introducing three separate and distinct characters. Each represents a type of an advanced human that exists in the universe. Joseph used the biblical name Elohim to represent the human beings who oversee the perpetuation of the human species throughout this universe. The word Elohim is a uniquely Hebrew word used in the Hebrew translation of the Bible. The scripture states, "In the beginning Elohim created the heaven and the earth." The evidence that this word means gods, both male and female, comes later in other verses. And Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." So Elohim created man in his own image, male and female created he them. Elohim again represents the humans, both male and female, who create other humans in this universe and are responsible for their development. Joseph used the word Jehovah, another biblical term used in Hebrew scripture that represents the great lawgiver. Joseph intended this character to represent the supreme authority and government head of each solar system. He used the term Michael to represent every other advanced human who is not a creator or a government head. The literal translation of the Hebrew word Michael is he who is like God. Joseph was presenting the real truth about the Godhead, a real truth about human beings that would have gotten him killed for sure had he revealed it in plainness. Together, these three types of advanced humans create the heavens and the earth, in other words, our solar system, and then they put plants and animals on it. Elohim oversees this creation, and Jehovah and Michael always agree on everything that they do together, both equal to each other. Joseph borrowed the biblical creation story to present this idea. He used the Bible as a backdrop for his storyline and its symbolism because he knew that his audience believed the Bible to be the Word of God. By using Bible-based symbolism, the people would at least consider what it was he was trying to tell them. The same scenario is followed to create mortals upon earth. Elohim says, "Jehovah, Michael, is man found upon the earth?" Jehovah replies, "Man is not found on the earth, Elohim." Elohim then says, "Jehovah, Michael, then let us go down and form man in our own likeness, in our own image, male and female." The next part of the endowment presentation is how Joseph presented the idea that mortal life is simply a dream occurring in the mind of our eternal self. Elohim and Jehovah take Michael to the earth and put him asleep. While Michael is asleep, the actor who plays Adam appears on the scene sleeping. The narrator, who is Jehovah's character originally, says, "Brethren and sisters, this is Michael, who helped form the earth. When he awakens from the sleep which Elohim and Jehovah have caused to come upon him, he will be known as Adam, and having forgotten all, will have become like a little child." Adam is awakened. Then Elohim and Jehovah put Adam back asleep again, and when he wakes up, he becomes Adam and Eve. But what happened to Michael? Elohim and Jehovah leave Michael's character sleeping and do not wake him up throughout the entire presentation of Adam and Eve's experience upon the earth as mortals. Joseph was symbolically screaming that the entire experience of Adam and Eve was happening in Michael's mind while he was sleeping. And to further drive home this point, Joseph ended his original endowment in the following way. On his original stage, Joseph placed the characters of Elohim and Jehovah directly behind a chair. He instructed the character playing the sleeping Michael to sit in the chair during this particular scene. He instructed Elohim and Jehovah to place one of their hands on the shoulder of Michael, Elohim's left hand and Jehovah's right, to wake him up. The dialogue was presented like this. Elohim says, placing his left hand on Michael's shoulder, "Michael, awake and arise." Michael smiles as he rises to his feet and says, "My eyes have been opened and I am awake. I now know the good from the evil. I am ready to receive the worlds that thou hast created for us." Elohim takes Michael by the right hand and offers Michael's hand to Jehovah's right hand. "Jehovah, here is Michael. Thou shalt rule and reign over him upon the worlds that we have heretofore created for him and his posterity." Jehovah says, taking Michael's hand from Elohim in what is called the patriarchal grip or the sure sign of the nail, "It shall be done, Elohim." Elohim exits the stage, leaving Jehovah and Michael alone. Michael then kneels before Jehovah and says, "I know thee now. Thou art Jehovah, the Lamb of the everlasting God." Michael stands up and turns towards the audience and says, "This is Jehovah, he who is prepared before the foundation of the world. To him every knee shall bow and each tongue confess that he is the Lord, is our Lord and Savior." The patrons are instructed to stand and kneel before the stage. Michael then says to them, "Each of you bow your head and say yes." The patrons say yes. Then Jehovah, stretching forth his hands towards the audience, says, "It is done." And this is exactly how the original endowment was supposed to end. But when Brigham Young and his leaders took over the LDS Church, they had a big problem with how the endowment ended, because these men didn't have a clue what Joseph was trying to teach. They were very uncomfortable with its ending. Brigham Young had a problem in explaining what happened to Adam and Eve, and even Lucifer, once the endowment finished in this way. If Michael became Adam and Eve after he was put to sleep, what happened to them after he was awakened? Young couldn't explain something that he didn't understand himself, and thus evolved Joseph's masterpiece into the distorted and misunderstood presentation that it has become today. The real truth about our existence as human beings can be found behind the symbolism Joseph left in his original endowment presentation. Each token and sign represents a specific and important part of our human experience. The penalties associated with these tokens and signs are just as important as the signs themselves. And if the LDS Mormon people had known their important significance, they would have never taken the penalties out of the endowment's presentation. The temple and clothing also, each piece symbolizes an important part of who we are and why we exist. In his endowment, Joseph would present the true order of prayer in contrast to the false order of prayer. The false way to pray is kneeling and expressing one's desire by the words of the mouth. The false way will always be answered by human nature and affected by prejudice. The true way to pray is through action and understanding. It's in how we treat each other in a unified circle of human compassion and respect. The play that Joseph first presented in his red brick store in the city of Nauvoo in 1842 should not have been changed and altered in any way. It was perfect. It was everything that he knew that he could not tell a world that would have rejected it. The world wanted its religion, its philosophies of men, mingled with Scripture. Joseph wanted to tell the real truth. The LDS Temple Endowment is the greatest presentation of real truth ever given. Its symbolism gives the answers to the questions about our reality. Who are we and why do we exist? Before the authorized and official publications about the Temple Endowment and the true history of Joseph Smith Jr. were published by the Marvelous Work and a Wonder, Joseph Smith's true mission and purpose were virtually unknown. Some have demonized him and mocked everything that he did, yet others have deified him and changed what he stood for to serve their own agendas. But everything that they know about him was generated by dogma and myth. The true details of his life and work are available to the world in the published works of the Marvelous Work and a Wonder. The books available provide the opportunity for a person to know everything that Joseph knew, everything that has been hidden since the foundation of the world. The information is always free. Real truth is always free. Lucifer might claim, according to Joseph's symbolism in the Temple Endowment, you can buy anything in this world for money, but if you have to pay for it, then it cannot be real truth. Anything you pay for comes from quote-unquote Lucifer. A true messenger who is disclosing his true identity will always deliver it for free.
Now we have a world where people are confused. If you don't believe it, go and watch the news. We can get direction all along our way.
begin tonight with breaking news in Salt Lake City.
Police arrested a man for stalking the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That man is now in jail. Jennifer Stagg joins us outside of the church headquarters in downtown Salt Lake with the latest. Jen, when did this happen?
Keith, the man was arrested here at the church office building on July 5th. Police were called here for a call of trespassing. They say the officers were told the man had been to the building 5 times that week and were asking to speak with President Thomas S. Monson. That man is 36-year-old Benjamin Tucker Staples. He also goes by the alias of Jesus Christ. According to police documents, he told officers he intended to keep returning to the offices until he actually met with President Monson. Staples has been charged with stalking, which is a Class A misdemeanor. He is being held currently on $25,000 bail. Back to you.
Jen, do we know where Staples is from?
Well, police believe he is homeless here in Salt Lake City, so they don't know exactly what his connection is to President Monson or to the church, but at this point we believe he lives here somewhere on the streets of Salt Lake City.
All right, thanks, Jennifer Stagg.
Follow the prophets, follow the prophets, follow the prophets, he knows the way.
Well, hello and welcome to the Marvelous Work and Wonder TV show. My name is Tony and I'll be your host today. Christopher is away. But anyway, today I would like to introduce you to a gentleman. His name is Benjamin Tucker Staples, and he's also known as Jesus Christ. At the very beginning of the show, you've probably seen that breaking news story that Channel 5 did about a homeless man that is apparently from Arkansas that wanted to meet the prophet. And I want to first introduce him, and let's get you on here. Benjamin,
Yes.
go ahead and say hello to everybody.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Tony.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. I number one, want to thank you for coming out and sharing your time with us today
It's my pleasure.
and letting us know a little bit about your story. I find it very, very intriguing.
Thank you.
You know what you got going. To kind of give everyone a little background, a little bit, maybe you can kind of go back and tell us who you are, where you came from,
Okay.
and let's start from there.
All right. My mom found the LDS Church when I was 2 years old. I always had a stepfather. Never knew my real father. And I didn't see the principles of the church being lived out at home. I only saw the church when I went to church. My stepfather worked in nuclear power plants, which means we moved all over the country. Ended up in Arkansas. Went to high school there. I met my wife. We settled down, had 3 children. I built a house for us. My ex-father-in-law, he's a carpenter, a real good carpenter, so he taught me everything he knew. Well, what else do you want to know, Tony?
No, that's good. Well, what was your perception about the church? You say you kind of grew up in the church, you know what I mean? How active were you in the church?
I've always been very active in the church. We've always had the missionaries come over at least once a week and share food with and get to know them. So I was always surrounded by missionaries whenever they would come over. I always had a good feeling about the church,
Right. Was it something, now did you say you grew up with the church?
Right.
So were you baptized then in the church?
I was baptized by my stepfather when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, good. Did you receive the priesthood also?
I did, yes. I received the Aaronic priesthood, and then later on I received the Melchizedek priesthood.
Good. Did you have any other desires to serve in any capacity in the church?
No, I was always the one sleeping with his head down on a desk or something, not really into what's going on,
Right. So let's say serving a mission never crossed your mind?
No,
or?
it didn't. Not till later on.
till later on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you're saying later on, is this after you came here to Salt Lake, or while you were still living in Arkansas?
I can't pinpoint an exact time when my thought was thinking of that. Maybe I should tell you a little bit more about how I got to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, in fact, let's go ahead there. So you're in Arkansas.
I'm in Arkansas.
The home you're in.
Yes.
You have a family.
Right, and I made a commitment to my wife to take her to the Salt Lake Temple. And I'm living in Arkansas, and I made a commitment to take her to Salt Lake, so it was a pretty big commitment. I had an American flag on the wall, and I pinpointed where we lived, and I put another dot where we're going to be, and I had a straight ribbon going to that point. And after I baptized her, everything was attacking us. The adversary was strong, and it reached a point where we stopped going to church, and we stopped believing. And
do you mind sharing some of those things? Maybe that was adversarial for you?
I started to become friends with the popular Mormons, the ones that were cool, but they didn't believe in the gospel as much as I did, or as much as they should. So it'd be little things like that, and eventually getting a coffee machine and hooking it up in my bathroom. That way no one sees I got a coffee machine, Yeah, I did that.
Well, that's why we made this place appropriate. We're at a coffee house doing our interview.
Right. And I didn't have any coffee because I was afraid I was going to have to go to the bathroom too much.
Right,
so
yeah.
I thought I would add that.
Good. What particular things, when you say adversarial, I'm thinking, give me an example.
Okay. I was the second counselor for the Eldam's Quorum presidency, and I was basically running the quorum by him calling me and asking me what he should do, and he kept calling and calling and calling. Finally, I just got fed up with it, and I told my bishop, "Hey, you got to release me. You got to take me. I can't handle this no more, Right. And he's like, well, he gave me a hug and, everything's going to be okay type thing. But that's just one example,
You know what the bishop should have done is just made you Elders Quorum president, right? No?
Well, he wasn't a bad Elders Quorum president. He was pretty good. Yeah. He just, I guess I shouldn't have. Did I say something bad about him? No, I hope I didn't.
No. So obviously the structure of the church, right? There's a structure in the church with in the priesthood, and you were at one time an active member.
At one time, yes.
Even the second counselor. What are some of the things that really made you believe about this particular religion?
I was reconverted when I was about 26, and I got into the church, and I don't know, it was just it just felt right, everything just seemed to make sense. I felt peace, I felt love, I had compassion towards people, which is everything that a person needs. But then the reality is that every member isn't perfect, and they're going to do things that are wrong, that are going to, do harm to you without knowing. You're going to hold a grudge, that's how things get started,
Were you more involved in the church because of the people? Or would it have been more because of a testimony, or because
I needed hope.
Books? Or
I needed hope.
You needed hope.
Yeah.
And how did you receive that hope?
I felt stronger as a family. I hung my children's blessings on the wall.
Did you give those blessings?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
So. Do you have the Melchizedek priesthood then?
Right now I have the Aaronic priesthood.
The Aaronic priesthood.
I've resigned and just came back to the church.
Oh, okay. Why do you think you stayed with the Mormon Church at the time? Do you think, there's so many different religions, so many different churches. What were some of the things that you thought the LDS Church had for you?
There's always going to be that person that stands out in the church, that's that just is a perfect example of what Mormonism should be.
Yeah.
And and I just thought, if there's people like that, why can't we all be like that?
Right.
So I could see the purity about it, about being good in a Mormon church,
Okay, very good. How did you feel about the scriptures in general?
I didn't read the Book of Mormon until I was probably 26 years old, and I just thought it was great. I was really into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some things that you liked about the Book of Mormon?
I like the fact that it's a testimony of pure good and pure evil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any particular stories that you enjoy that sticks out in your mind that you like?
One of my favorite characters, Tiankum. He was under Moroni's command, and there was a part in the Book of Mormon where Tiankum and his men were stronger warriors than the Lamanites, and they were able to conquer them because of their experience in their ability for warfare.
Yeah.
They were trained military men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because Book of Mormon goes through different characters and different things. What other characters?
Oh
in
yeah,
the Book of Mormon?
Nephi, Moroni, Mormon, Alma, the older and younger.
Yeah.
These are all good guys.
Have you ever heard of the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon, or the sealed
Yeah,
part?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
It's written in the Book of Mormon. It's written about.
Yeah. Do you have any understanding of what its purpose for, or anything like?
No.
All right, very good. So you've gone through and you read the Book of Mormon. What about the Doctrine and Covenants in the Bible?
I've read them. I'm just not that into it.
Yeah. Where does your testimony lie in the LDS Church?
That's kind of it's a question that should be asked at the end of the interview. Let's save that one for last.
I'll do that.
All right.
Okay, very good. So you're there in Arkansas. You've built your own house. You have your family. Now tell me, start me on this journey.
Everything just totally fell apart, and I had a lot to do with that, because I was a type of person that would do something, master it, and get bored with it and do something else. So, like with the church, I got into it, did everything, that the church says to do, and after like a year, like I say, I got a coffee machine, maybe was watching shows I shouldn't be watching,
Would you say that coffee machine is something that really started the downfall?
Yeah, I love coffee.
Yeah, so is it more of like a guilty pleasure type of thing? I mean, it's like
when I was in prison, inside my cell, the only thing to keep me from not getting depressed was coffee. That's how I know coffee's not bad.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, because we all know that in the LDS Church, if you're drinking coffee, are you allowed to go to the temple?
No. Do
you feel that kind of hampered that dream of taking your family to the temple because of coffee?
No, that's not what it was. No.
No, okay.
It was other factors.
But you'd say that you had, it seems like you carry quite a bit of guilt just by drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something that you...
That's just one example of the many things that happen.
Okay, great. So we'll go on. So,
all right.
You go through this. Now, you say you got bored. Did you get bored with your family?
I never got bored with my kids, no. I think the relationship, we had married young. I was 19, she was 18. We didn't have a whole lot of experience with relationships, and now we're thrown into a family. So, it just didn't work.
Is that when you kind of fell away from the church, or you start questioning?
Yeah, that's when I started falling away from the church. I started hanging out with the wrong church members.
Okay.
They would come over and play games once a week, and I would let them corrode at what I had built. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They would chew away my character.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out because I'm thinking you're describing two type of characters in church. I mean, everyone believes in the same thing.
Right.
But you're saying there are certain type of Mormon or certain type of people that are religious, puts on like a religious face on Sunday.
Exactly.
And then you're trying to say that when they meet with you outside the church, they're completely different?
Yeah, they're talking about other members negatively, just stuff like that.
You would be, in your own words, what kind of member would you be?
Me now or
No,
before
then? Yeah.
I started becoming active, not in good standing.
And would you say that's mostly because of the influence that you saw in the? Some people fall away from the church.
Everything was falling away. My wife at the time, she was falling away from me, and everything was just slipping away.
Okay. Did she fall away from you because you're falling away from the church? What's her?
Well, I have a bad habit of just blabbing out the first thing that comes to my mind. I used to have that bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say things to hurt her that wasn't true.
Right.
And that never happened when I was active in the church. But as I started to fall away from the church, it became
easier and easier to
have disrespect for her.
What's her standing in the church?
Right now?
Your wife's ex-wife?
I don't know.
Ex-wife?
She's still a member, yeah.
Okay.
I don't talk to her.
What about your children?
I haven't talked to them in 9 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what made you leave Arkansas?
Well, I had the divorce, went through the divorce. She made me sell the house. I ended up becoming homeless. And later on, in order to find a place to stay, I threw a rock through a police car window so I could have food and shelter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you did something on purpose, being so desperate, just to get food and shelter.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, well, to tell you what happened just before that, my mother was divorcing my stepfather, and he couldn't handle that, so he ended up shooting her 3 times in the head, and then he took his own life.
Wow.
And 3 months after that happened, I was shot by my ex-father-in-law twice in a city park when I was on my visitation with my kids. So things got really complicated really fast on me, and I didn't know exactly what to do. So I was just being guided by the Spirit to go and do these things that society would look at and say, man, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
This guy is nutso.
Yeah.
So I used that to get my ex-father-in-law forgiven for his sins because I took it all on me. I said it wasn't him, it was me, and
Right.
I'll definitely testify on his behalf that it was my fault. So they dropped the charges of second-degree murder, which is something I did. I feel good about it, but it left me without having any credibility whatsoever.
Right.
I had to take that on me. So I was alone one day, and I got on my knees, and I just said, Heavenly Father, how do I get my family back? I just lost the only way possible because I could have sued him for doing it. He'd gone to prison, then I could have sued him, then I could have got my kids back. But I decided, no, that wasn't the way I wanted to go. There has to be a more noble way of doing it. So I got down on my knees, and I prayed to Heavenly Father, and I said, Father, please, what do I have to do to get my family back? And the response that came was something that was far away from my mind as I would think. It came back, you are Jesus Christ. The Spirit spoke to me in a soft, still voice that said, you are Jesus Christ. And from that moment on, I was like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I like the idea.
Yeah. But
how is it possible? So I've been on that journey for about 9 years now. How is that possible?
Yeah, how's that? Well, obviously, when someone talks about listening to the story, if someone says, I am Jesus Christ, obviously you're going to get mixed reactions.
Oh, yeah, and I've got an explanation for that. If I was the only one to claim I'm Jesus Christ, how spoiled rotten would I be?
Yeah.
I'd be arrogant because I wouldn't have to earn nothing.
Yes.
At least this way I'm earning something.
Right. No, that's good. And let me ask you right now, do you feel you're mentally unstable or mentally ill?
No, but society has placed me that label upon me, and I'm going with it. Fine. You want me to be delusional? You want me to be on this medication? You want me to go to be on probation? You want me to live here and do this? Fine. But you're not going to take away what I have. You can't. It's America. It's built on freedom of religion,
Right.
and freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So they can take all that, but they're not getting everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Okay.
I do. All right. Very good. So you decide to come here to Utah. You're here in Utah.
Well, I think I need to explain.
Yeah.
I ended up in prison. The judge sentenced me 2 years prison for breaking that window.
In Utah.
Arkansas.
Or in Arkansas. Okay.
Yeah, so I did the whole prison thing. I spent 9 months of my time in the hole in a maximum secure prison. And I just was laying there one day in pain from some earaches I had. I was like, what do I need to do? Well, Arkansas prison system offers a bus ticket and $100, and you could go anywhere in the United States. And I thought, where do I want to go? Then the thought of that commitment to my wife to take her to the temple came into play. I was like, I need to go to Salt Lake City. That's where the temple is at. She said I would never make it, and I'm going to prove her wrong.
Yeah. So you took advantage of that $100 and that ticket, and you came to Salt Lake City.
Came to Salt Lake with nothing but the clothes that they gave me.
Yeah. Leaving there, coming here to Salt Lake, what was the first thing you started doing here when you came? Did you
When I first got here, I saw where the temple was located from my bus. That way, when I got to the bus station, I was able to walk up to the temple the first night I got here.
Yeah. What do you think the first time you ever went and seen the temple? What was your...
I thought it was pretty impressive. I never knew the church office buildings were there. I knew the temple was there, but when I looked around and seen everything the church owns, I thought it was quite impressive.
Right. So technically, you're homeless at this time.
Yes.
What were you thinking about doing here while you're in Salt Lake now?
I didn't have much figured out. I had made a disturbance the first night I was here.
Yeah.
At Temple Square, I made a disturbance.
Okay, and maybe fill us in with what happened.
It incriminates me.
Oh, well, you can say whatever you want to say.
All right.
Yeah. So let's just put that. There's a disturbance made.
Yes.
Can I ask why? What was the reasoning behind it, or?
The reason behind it was that I knew without a doubt that I was there for a purpose.
Okay.
So, and I always heard that when the trumpet sounds, that the second coming is on its way.
Okay.
So I thought, well, heck, that Angel Moroni out there, he's got a trumpet. So I started yelling at Angel Moroni to sound his trumpet. Didn't take long for security got called in, and I had 5 or 6 security guys surrounding me. This is 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
The first night I get in town. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was upset. Temple Square, or the grounds are open 24 hours a day, but there's no restroom. That was my whole beef with it. I had to use the restroom. Mm-hmm. There's no restroom.
What did the security officers say to you when they came up to you?
They told me to leave, or they called the police after they handcuffed me. Called the police. Police get there. He takes off the cuffs. He says, "Go on your way." I said, "No, I'm not going anywhere." Basically, I said, I still got to use the bathroom. So I was like, "You can arrest me. I'll use the bathroom there." So they arrested me, booked me in, and released me.
Okay. So that's your first experience.
That's my
day.
first experience with the LDS Church.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Now, I'm going to switch over here to, let's say, here's an article here. Man pleads no contest to stalking the Mormon president. So we'll go on from this. What made you make headlines here in let's say, stalking?
Okay.
It
started as trespassing. I got about 5 trespassing charges before I finally found Welfare Square in the road home.
Okay, when you say trespassing tickets,
yeah.
Just
going up there, knocking on security's door and saying, "I'm still here. You're going to have to arrest me," because they gave me like a year no trespass. So I was like, what do I do with this? Oh, I can use that. Knock on security's door, say, "I'm here, I'm trespassing." do something with me. I didn't know what to do. I was lost.
So was this more using that thing? Was it more of a cry for help type of thing for
It was all I had.
assistance?
It was the only option I had was to go back to jail. I just got out of prison, so I knew I can handle that.
Yeah.
So and I didn't know the streets at all of Salt Lake City. No one was helping me find anything, so I was like, this is my option. I'm going to run with it.
Okay.
So
you knew at least you'd be put up. You get your meals taken care of.
yeah, some people don't understand that. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
If you need a place to stay, some people from the streets commit crimes.
Right.
There are innocent people locked up.
Yeah. Well, we hear it about, and we've talked about this a bunch of times on the show, where a homeless man went into like a convenience store, basically robbed him for $1, stayed there,
Yeah.
waited for the cops to come,
Right,
and
right.
you hear that all the time.
Yeah, that's basically what I was doing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't have any particular issues
No.
about the
And at the
church,
time,
or-
I didn't even want to speak to the prophet because to me, he was far away.
He-
I was
untouchable.
untouchable, right.
Right.
So it wasn't until I found the road home and found Welfare Square that I started to
Welfare Square.
Yeah.
Okay, and you found the road home, and then because you understood about the welfare for that the church has for the members.
I
and
heard
things
about
like
it, but
that,
never. They trespassed me from there too. I couldn't go, but I shaved and went in disguise. You know what I'm saying? They didn't
yeah.
know I was that crazy guy from Temple Square. They
Yeah.
were just like this. This is Benjamin Staples,
Yeah.
and he's here to work.
Now let me ask you: Did you kind of like the notoriety of being the crazy guy on Temple Square?
A lot of people won't understand that, but I really like the fact that I'm standing up for what I believe.
Right.
I don't like it when they bring me back to my cell and feed me slop. But I enjoy the recognition of who I am. That's the only time I get it, is when I'm about ready to be arrested.
Right. So in some ways, it validates what you're on this road.
The only credibility I had was my own freedom.
Right.
That's all I had to offer.
And if you're willing to give it up so easy, then there has to be something that you're fighting for, or that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Or,
There must be something I must be following the Holy Spirit, you
Yeah.
know. He's leading me, guiding me.
So let me ask you, when you were here and you went on the Welfare Square, what did you think about the welfare program that the church has?
When I started to work at Welfare Square?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It took me a little while to figure it all out. It's an awesome thing. There's no doubt about it. I was the man stocking the dairy products. That's what I was known for. And I would branch off at other areas and do other things. But, yeah, from what I saw, it's really top-notch. They could really increase their productivity, though. They're only running about 40%. They can add another shift to help out the poor around the world.
Right.
They have the capacity. They just don't have the willpower.
So you were around with other homeless people, other people in the same shoes.
Right.
Would you say you were better off than some, or
No,
or-
I was their equal. I was better off with the fact that I knew what ground I was standing on.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those guys that takes advantage of the system. Well, I guess I was, so I shouldn't say that. I was taking advantage of the system. But you know what I mean, that don't do anything all day long. Some people don't have anything to do, you know?
Right.
And it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to have Welfare Square.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I've had the opportunity to do that, you know what I mean? And there's been a few times in my life, my family's life, where we kind of got to that point where we had nowhere to go. And we went there, did our thing, worked it. I don't think we ever collected on the food or anything, because every single time I got to that low point, we'd go over there and do the work, and it's like, okay, now you can go get your food. And I'm like, well, we don't need it now. Something just barely came in, so we just did it. But I really enjoyed the experience over there, being there with my family and my son.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
It's like, and my son loves going through the lunch line. You know what I mean? They feed you there if you work.
They feed you good for sure, yeah.
And it's just the thought of helping other people, and it seemed like a very
It's called Welfare Square, but it should actually be called Charity Square.
Charity Square. Now, what gave you the idea of going to the prophet? What was the? Let's go ahead and maybe you can kind of give me your perspective of what happened there.
Well, I kind of reached the point in my volunteering career where I was coming to. It was going to come to an end in some way because, I'm one who likes to try other things, and I was reaching the climax of what they were willing to let me do. So they respected me as a person who was homeless. They all knew it. They respected me as a man. Now it's time for me to go asking for my freedom, basically, because they have a no trespassing for a year.
Right.
And I was on like month 10, so I had 2 more months before I could go to Temple Square, and I thought I had earned some credibility.
Yeah.
By working at Welfare Square for 10 months straight.
Right.
Every day. From the time they opened to the time they closed.
You were there.
I was there, yeah.
And a lot of people knew who you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And you felt good being there.
Yeah, I felt right at home.
Right.
Even though, some of the people that came in there maybe weren't as appreciative as they should be.
Right.
But other than that, it was a good place.
Okay. No, that's good. You're at this point. What was your purpose of visiting the prophet at the...
It didn't start at that. It started with me trying to get the trespassing charge dropped.
I see.
That's how it started.
Right.
So I went in there to the church office building and I said, I need this dropped. They said, no, go away. I said, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
They arrested me. I did it again.
Now, when you went in there,
Yeah.
when they said no, what was your thinking? I mean, were you hurt by it? Obviously, I mean, you go in there and you want to try to resolve something. Did you try to go through a bishop or someone locally?
Yeah, actually, I did try to go through my bishop on that one.
Oh,
yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, that was the one I did, and it didn't. I heard no response, so I got frustrated and took it upon myself to go visit the prophet, or not at that point, but
right.
Later.
So you just wanted to go to the church office building, and it's all because you wanted to go visit the temple again.
I wanted to be able to go on Temple Square without any trespassing charges or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you were in there. They said no, go away, and then what happened?
Well, basically, I told them a few things. One being, that the church is called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm sure that's going to be on the title somewhere. So I told them, you're telling Jesus Christ not to trespass on his own property.
And when you said that, what did they say?
They didn't have anything for it,
Yeah.
They just told me to get on some good meds.
Right. And then what happened?
They arrested me.
Back to jail.
Back to jail, released. That was just trespassing.
Okay.
Not stalking. Did it again. This time I said, okay, I want to speak to an apostle. That's how it escalated.
Okay. So.
And they booked me in, released me, trespassing.
Okay.
Then I said, I want to speak to the prophet. Arrest me, released me, trespassing. I did it again, asking for the prophet. They're like, oh man, we got to figure out something. This guy's going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So they got together in a little huddle. They came back to me and said, yeah, we're going to charge you for stalking. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But yeah, all right, if that's what you want to do, you can do that. It's not going to deter me any. But if that's what you want to do, go for it.
So your main question, the only thing you wanted to do there is just see if you could be let on. I mean, is that your question?
That's how it started, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it all started, until I reached the point where I needed something to stand for. I'm here to see the prophet. Why not? Let's quit playing games. Let's stop beating around the bush. Let's get down to it.
Yeah.
I want to see the prophet.
Yeah. And what was their reaction when you asked?
They were always polite because I was always polite to them.
Right.
But they just encouraged getting on the right medications. And, they never handcuffed me after the first time. They never handcuffed me. They waited for the police to come to handcuff me. I was never a disturbance.
So you wouldn't be in there trying to create a scene?
No, not at all. I was totally peaceful. I said, when it came to the security, I just said, could you tell security I'm here to be arrested? And they're like, what? I That's all it was.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't throwing any rocks or holding a sign or anything like that.
So they were, after a while, just like, oh no, here's Benjamin again.
Yeah, the police knew me.
Yeah.
And the church security knew me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we seen that breaking news story,
Yeah.
they make it very dramatic. Like, now you've been charged with
Yeah.
actual stalking. Is that right? Okay.
They released me after. They still released me after I was in jail 3 days. They released me.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and put up this article so people can see here at home, and this is the actual article out of the Desert News. This is you, and this would have been a couple years ago. You said that this would have happened.
At which point?
Well, it says you're 36 here.
So that would be 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay. It says Salt Lake City, a homeless man charged with stalking President Thomas S. Monson believed that the leader of the LDS Church was the only one who could solve any problems. Witness testified Tuesday. What were those problems that you were hoping that the
I was still young in my approach
Mm-hmm.
when I said that. I've since have thought about it more in depth. Over time, you kind of, if you're thinking of the same theme over time,
Right.
it kind of changes sometimes.
Sure.
So my thought on that was that, I want to meet him. I want to shake his hand, and I want to look him in the eye and tell him that I'm Jesus Christ.
Right.
That's all I want.
Now, what if you had that opportunity? What do you think he would do? What was your purpose for doing that?
My purpose for doing it,
Yeah, for wanting to do that.
for wanting to
Yeah.
do it, is I'm fed up with not, working, like I said,
Yeah.
at Welfare Square and not asking for anything in return, and not getting anything in return.
Right.
I needed more. I just needed to see more. I needed to do more.
Okay. So here it goes. 3 witnesses testified that Staples would routinely go to the LDS Church, ask the church leader, I need to see President Monson. And the security guard, Aaron Rampton, recalled Staples saying, he's the only one that can solve my problems. She said Staples told her the problems he alluded to involved custody of his children, but Salt Lake City officer Nicholas Tellis said Staples gave him a very different reason for needing to speak with the president and prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ. Staples believes he is Jesus Christ, and President Monson is the only person who can help him on this journey, Tellis recounted. He said that it was ironic that Jesus would be arrested for stalking the prophet. Is that more of a kind of a
I was
point,
going with both. I was talking to two different people.
right. So it's like, if you want to say it that way, go ahead. Is that kind of your take on it?
Yeah,
Or- okay.
yeah. That was a really cool police officer. Yeah, I liked him. He was cool.
Yeah, and then it says, church security officer Kenneth Johnson said that on one occasion he reminded Staples of a trespassing notice preventing him from entering the building for 6 months and asked him to leave. He wanted to be arrested, Johnson said. He had previously been arrested the day before for the same thing, and he twice prayed about it, and he told he needed to return to the church office building. What does that mean? Did you went in there, you left, and you went and prayed about it, and you felt like you had to return
Well,
again?
the thing was I prayed about it, and I knew my actions would result in me being arrested.
Right.
So I went into the office building, was prepared to be arrested, and then and I asked them basically, what do I do with my Book of Mormon? And they're like, you're going to lose that. So I was like, that doesn't sound right. So I left and then prayed about it again, and then came back and said, I got to give it up.
So you carried your Book of Mormon around with you?
I carried it everywhere I went. I carried it in my pants pocket everywhere I went.
So when they threatened to take that Book of Mormon away from you, you're like, I'm out of here.
It meant something to me,
Right.
I had personally marked on this Book of Mormon my personal feelings.
Right.
So, yeah, I didn't want to give it up.
No.
And I didn't know that you'd be able to get a Book of Mormon once you got to jail, but I didn't know that, but it didn't matter.
Well, it's something that you had, and, it meant something to you.
It did, yeah.
And you knew the outcome again by coming back and
I did,
doing the same thing, right? Okay. Let me see. Over here, let's see. I like this one here. It says, when people show up like Brother Staples and refuse to accept our advice to go to an ecclesiastical leader, meaning like the bishop or someone,
Right.
which you said you did, but no one ever answered any questions. and became a persistent nuisance. You're a nuisance, you know. That's what.
Well,
they're trying to
I
say.
like how they say brother Staples, like they're on my side.
All right.
You know.
Yeah.
Like they're on my team. Way to go, brother Staples.
Yeah. But it says, speaks of receiving guidance outside normal channels, we become concerned.
The normal channels are sustaining your prophet no matter what he says. That's the normal channels.
The normal channels.
Yeah.
And by you obviously receiving your own guidance through your whatever.
we all receive our own guidance, in life. Not everybody has to be this perfect Mormon to receive guidance.
Right.
It's a gift to everyone.
Well, this is the reason. This is one of the reasons exactly why I had you on my show. You know what I mean? Because I love reading things like this because, everyone has a story. And the marvelous work and wonder, people sometimes, so many times, they often think that this is a religion, or they think that we're out here to convert people or do other things.
I think this is a really cool thing, man.
Oh well, I'm glad you glad you like it. And to be upfront, you had no idea about the marvelous work and wonder.
I had no idea.
Or you've never met me.
No.
We've met each other on Friday. I think Friday is the first time I texted you. I seen you on Facebook.
Right.
And I asked you if you wanted to be interviewed.
Yeah, I said,
and you were very gracious for, I said, hey, let's meet. Why don't you tell the story from your perspective?
My perspective is that I was sending out a message on Facebook. I was saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I believe. You're either with me or I'm hoping you're with me. Somebody be with me, because I'm tired of being around people who are not with me,
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be around people that are like them?
Okay.
So, yeah, you somehow messaged me or sent a comment. Yeah, that's how we got hooked up.
When I met you, you said something that made me think a little bit. You said, I was pretty nervous or kind of nervous to see who was going to show up.
I've been looking, I've been waiting for an opportunity to tell my story. I've been waiting 9 years since, I've been going through all kinds of stuff for what I believe, and I want more of a return, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not getting it. I want it,
Right. So you're actively seeking something for these questions and
not seeking, but thinking of it.
Thinking of them.
This is how it would work.
Okay.
If I only had this in my life right now, this would work.
This would work for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're an answer to a prayer.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad that something like that happened. And I do believe a lot of times when you put yourself out there, because really my purpose behind this whole thing with the Marvelous Work and Wonder in this TV show is to interview people that really have a story, people that have questions. But this show, I want to make this show specifically for those people. I don't care if they're anti-Mormon. I don't care if they're Mormon. I don't care what they are.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter. It's not that. It's finding, for me,
the truth.
Real truth, yeah.
I hear you.
Absolute truth.
Definitely.
And so, but I'm going to give you the opportunity, as someone that believed so much in the Church of Jesus Christ, done what you've done, had your own story to tell. Now you're here. Now you can tell your story. You know what I mean? What is something that you are looking or
this
that you want to gain?
This is where the stand I'm taking right now.
Yeah.
I will sustain President Monson as the prophet of the LDS Church if he sustains me as leader.
As a leader in?
The leader.
The leader. Okay. And what is it that you want to lead?
I want to lead the LDS Church into the future.
You want to lead it into the future?
I do.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit about what you want. What are some of your plans and some of your goals for the church that you want to do?
I think for one, we're going to have to increase productivity in all the factories or canneries and the bakeries. Increase productivity and get some help to the people that are leaving war-torn countries. What do they call those people?
Refugees?
Refugees, thank you. Yeah, you got all these refugees that are going to nothing. They don't have anything.
Right.
And I think we could step up and really help out in that call.
Right.
Put a temple on hold or not make so many temples. Let's redirect some of our money this way.
Yeah.
Why is that not possible?
That sounds good to me. What if I was to ask you, what is the gospel of Jesus Christ? What does that mean to you? What would you say?
Just love your brother, and your sister. Everybody's a brother and sister. We should all just get along,
Yeah,
That's pretty much it.
that's great. If you were given the opportunity to lead the church, let me say, when I talked to you, you said because the prophet doesn't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Have you heard that he didn't want to talk to you, or do you think he'd
No.
meet with you one
No,
day?
and
or
I'm not
what?
even sure if he knew about it, or what. But surely some word has to have gotten to him that there's been a stalker, You know what? It's professional stalking. It's, when someone says I'm a stalker, I say, no, I'm a professional stalker.
You're a professional stalker. You make it look good. You know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know how
if
to
you're
get
gonna
your
do
nails
it, do it all the way.
That's right.
It got up to a second degree felony. I'm
Yeah.
sitting on for just going to ask to see the prophet.
Wow.
Yeah.
$25,000 bail.
Yeah, bail. Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm on probation maybe for the next 8 months. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans from here on out?
Well, hopefully some doors have been opened by this, or someone was enlightened, or someone wants to say hi. You can reach me on Facebook. I'm Benjamin Tucker Staples. Just look me up. I don't always say the right thing, but I say what's on my mind if you're interested.
Yeah. Are there certain questions that you have that you would want to ask the prophet?
Well, what I would do is I would tell him, show me around.
Show me around. Show me around to.
Show me around everything.
Okay.
Give me the tour.
Give you a tour. Do you think the church has the solutions for the things that you're most concerned about?
They can be, if they stop spending money on malls and $1 million temples. I don't care. They did it for a reason, and I can appreciate them doing it. But now it's a different time. It's a time to stop building temples and start helping people.
Right. Well, good. Well, this is going to be my challenge to you, and for being on my show today. Okay,
Yes.
on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
I have my own personal set of books from the Marvelous Work and Wonder. Okay, that includes the sealed portion, Joseph Smith's biography, the 666 book, and the Human Reality book. I like to give them to you, if you like them, if you want them.
Sure. They look like I thumbed through them a little bit just to get an idea of what I was up against. And, I'm not much of a reader, but I can make an exception.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you take a look at the books, and I'm going to let you pick the one that most appeals to you. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is you probably heard a lot about this Christopher guy. You have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
What he claims to be.
Right.
Nothing. You have no
Right.
idea, right? Then what I'd like to do is one day, because there's a lot of things that you talk about that we talk about or he talks about in this Marvelous Work and Wonder. You know what I mean? You'll go back and you haven't seen the first presentation about the temple ceremony or anything like that, but you'll probably go back and revisit some of that and some of the claims that Christopher has made. If you want to, and you have any kind of question, I'd like to set you up where you could ask Christopher any question you wanted to, and see if he
That'd be
makes
cool.
sense.
Hey,
or
I've got
anything
some
like that.
questions that I don't have answers to.
Right.
I'm not afraid to ask.
No, that's good. But what I want you to do is I'm going to give you these books. It's going to be like a puzzle. Okay? Read the books first, and it can be a week, if you take a year. But read the books. When you have those questions, the same questions that you wanted to ask Thomas Monson, I want you to ask Christopher. I'm not going to ask you these questions now because I'm not going to let anyone know what they are or feel like he's studying or trying to figure these out. But if you have these sincere, honest questions, because to me it seems like you're a sincere person.
Thanks.
You know
I
what
try
mean?
to be.
I mean, that's what's.
Yeah, I can admit when I've done wrong for sure.
Right, good.
And I've done plenty of wrong.
Well, there's things that you say you've got to learn line upon line, and things, and you said you want to be guided to the truth. Well, it's like I'm going to give you these books. All you have to do is look at it. Just look at it, contact
I'll take a look
me
at it.
and-
I'm kind of
Yeah.
interested in about the sealed plates of
Yeah.
the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
I'll look through that for
Cool.
sure. Yeah.
Sounds good. And then we'll have you back on.
You know, if that's something you would want to do, I mean, I think you're a little bit crazy if you're gonna invite me if you're gonna invite me back. But you know, that would be cool if you did.
No, that's good. Like I said, our show's open to anybody, and I appreciate you coming on the show today and giving us your perspective. And
Thank you, Tony.
I think
Thank
it's
you
very
and
cool, so-
your brother and your wife.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So that was Benjamin Tucker Staples. Again, it's a story that I thought was very interesting. I thought it was really fun to kind of go through. Traveling all the way from Arkansas to Utah. And then I also have a gentleman here that I'd like to, since I got him, he showed up today, and I kind of put this on Facebook. So anyone that wanted to appear here and come and interview, I was going to interview him today, and it just so happens to be this gentleman came down from Iceland, and his name is Ziggy. In fact, I'm going to find him and invite him here onto the show here in a little bit. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, good. Hey, thank you so much for coming out today. I know that right now you've been in Salt Lake for how long now?
Well, thank you also, and I've been here for just over 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah, came 12th of July.
Wow, very good. Well, good. Well, go
but
ahead.
not actually in Salt Lake. I've been staying in Kanash. There's 2 weeks since I came to Salt Lake.
Oh, 2 weeks. So you've been here 2 weeks in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody out there in the audience. Go ahead and say your name. So I know I have a hard time pronouncing it.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Sigurjon Gretar Einarsson, and I'm from Iceland.
Oh, Iceland. Good. Can you tell us a little bit about Iceland and, a little bit about your history, how you grew up?
Yeah, Iceland is a small country of 300,000 people, and pretty much everybody who gets born there is born into the Lutheran Church, and except the parents refer on other things. The freedom of religion is there.
Oh, freedom of religion, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, and
so how old are you when you found the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
okay, you want my story?
Yeah.
That leads up to that.
Okay.
Okay. Like I said, everybody is born Lutheran, and you get baptized as an infant. And when you are 13, there's a bar mitzvah. It's the only word I know for it. Bar mitzvah. And then you learn a little bit about Jesus, about the Lutheran conception of it.
Yes.
And yeah, I like those classes.
Yes.
And as a kid, I was always wondering, the existence. And I remember just as a small boy.
Yeah.
But I didn't really sank in at this. I was in school. I didn't like school.
You didn't like school?
No.
Yeah.
I just watching out the window most of the time.
Yeah.
I sat by the window.
Yeah.
And
growing up, what kind of hobbies, what kind of things did you like to do? Obviously, you didn't like school. What are some things you like to do?
I like just being outside and just playing sports or climb or something.
Yeah, that's good. You mentioned sports. What kind of sports do you like?
Soccer was when I was younger. I played soccer. Football, we call it football in Iceland.
Yeah.
You call it soccer.
Oh, that's good.
Americans, not you.
That's
okay.
good. And then also, when you were growing up and you were going to church in the Lutheran Church, reading the Bible or anything, what kind of Bible stories did you like?
I don't really remember. It was just the whole concept, and it was draw up pictures of men with beard and so I didn't really pick a specific, but you had to pick a verse from the Bible when you get the bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
So I have it somewhere. I read it not so long ago, but I don't remember what it is. Yeah, can you help me continue?
No, that's yeah. What led you to the LDS Church? What's your story? How did you find outside the Lutheran religion?
Yeah, just pretty much my parents never taught me anything about religion, and after this bar mitzvah thing, I just continued just what everybody else was doing, and
Yeah.
I was obligated to go to school, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I was confused about everything, but yeah, then I get to be a father when I'm young, 19, and so I felt some responsibility in that.
Yeah.
But for 3 years, I was trying to play that part.
Right.
But it was hard, and I was young, and so we split up I split up with the mom. So just at that point, I started drinking and smoking weed.
Oh, okay.
So less interest in sports.
Yes.
But I continued practicing sports.
Yes.
Even though I went high on practices, and I just cope with everything. I didn't understand what's going on in the world.
Yeah. No, that's good.
In Iceland, little Iceland, what along the world.
Right.
So
when did you first get in contact with would it be the missionaries that you ran into, or what was your first experience?
Yeah. First experience. Then I'm 29. I never heard about the Mormons. I didn't know they existed. I said a prayer, just asking God to show me something more. And I knew it was something more. 4 years before, I started reading New Testament, so I had gained the faith in Jesus at that point. So for 4 years before the LDS Church came into the picture, I had the belief in Jesus as a Lutheran, as the New Testament teaches him.
Yes, the New Testament. Yeah.
And to 29, I just knelt down. Just didn't like the way that I was heading. Just drinking a lot and smoking and not being responsible and just careless. So I asked God to show me something more, and the next morning the 2 missionaries knocked on my shoulder and asked me if I wanted to know more about Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So I thought to myself, why not? I asked God yesterday sincerely. I wanted to know. I was willing to do what it takes. I was willing to sacrifice things for knowing.
Yeah. It seems like you're very led by your own feelings, or
somehow this was really strong. That I knew this was an answer from God.
Yes.
I always had the faith in God also.
Right.
And I knew He had answered me at that point. And when I looked at the missionaries, I saw them, and I heard Jesus Christ.
Oh wow.
So that was
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you start taking the discussions with the missionaries, and then going to church, or how
1 month. It was a 1 month period from when I.
1 month?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I quit everything. I quit smoking and drinking and coffee and all the requirements.
Wow.
So, and I got baptized 7th of November, kind of maybe 3 weeks after I first met them.
Oh, that's good. How did you feel when you were baptized?
Actually, a little disappointed. I expected more.
You expected more?
I had a strong faith in God, but I knew this was an answer.
Yes.
But I didn't feel any difference in me. I was receiving the gift of the Holy Ghost. I had the same questions and the same longing as I had before.
Right. So now that you're in the church and you have the same questions, you start going to church.
Yeah, I started reading.
Asking the questions that you have.
Yeah.
What kind of questions did you have?
Not kind of asking, just to myself, just kind of observing.
Yes.
What was going on.
What did you observe? What did you observe when you were going to church?
I just in Iceland the church is small. It's 50 people, and they're just nice people. You know. Just,
Did you get a chance to read the Book of Mormon at that point?
yes, I believed in the Book of Mormon from the beginning because I knew it was the more thing I was looking for,
Yes.
of Jesus Christ. And yeah, after I just got into reading it, and
Yes.
yeah, by time when I gained callings in the church, and yeah.
Now, that calling that you got in the church was pretty big. It was you became the branch president, right?
Yeah, the last calling I got was.
The last.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
First, I was a counselor in young men's, then a young men's president, then elders quorum president, then branch president.
Oh wow, wow. And how long were you involved in the church throughout that time? How many years?
3.5.
3.5 years. Wow. What did you like? Which calling did you like the best?
A little bit more than 3.5. 3 months. 3 years and 8 months.
About 3 years and 8 months.
Yeah.
Which calling did you enjoy the best?
I liked them all because I felt I was learning in the process, and I don't know, just liked them all.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, being the branch president, you have to kind of take a look at everybody in the congregation, right? What are some things that you learned being the branch president there?
Just the people who are struggling.
Yeah.
And,
What would you say they were struggling with? Everyday type of things, or?
Yeah, just even with the commandments, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and everyday things.
Yeah. And what kind of advice or what kind of things would you give to the people that were struggling at the time?
Just the same advice as I was given, kind of. Just
And what
read the Book of Mormon and just ask God. Just try to be just sincere and yeah.
So you believe a lot in following your spirit, following within?
Yeah, but I've been following this work that you are all about.
Oh, the marvelous work and wonder.
Yeah.
So you found it at what particular time?
Eventually, 2 years after I stopped going to church. So I look at Holy Spirit a little differently now than I did then.
Oh, okay.
So
right. So maybe tell me, how did you find the marvelous work and wonder?
Kind of the same process as I found the LDS church. I got also married in the temple.
You were married in the temple?
Yeah, after 2.5 years, when I got married in the temple, and a year later I divorced, and that was kind of the same period I quit going to church.
Right.
So it was difficult time. So.
Yes. What started going through your mind when you when you got a divorce?
I still had the faith because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
I got this powerful answer that the Book of Mormon was true.
Yes.
And the church just was connected to that, so I didn't know anything else. So I just told my ex-wife that okay, we're gonna just split up, and I'm gonna take all the responsibility.
Yeah.
And you just continue to do what you do in the church, and I'm gonna go just take responsibility and just be mad to God.
Yeah. So, did you feel upset? Did you feel mad?
Yeah, I kind of felt. It was kind of just not mad. I was just frustrated.
Yeah.
Why would he get me into this temple marriage, if it was not going to work?
Right.
From the first minute we were married, it started just to roll and get bigger problems.
Right.
And so why? And I just kind of rebelled. I still had the faith, but I just kind of rebelled. Just the first thing I got when after I signed the marriage divorcement in Iceland, I had already stopped going to church because I'm released as a branch president. I asked to be released as a branch president.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, I got divorced. And just rebelled and wanted to first thing I did was to smoke cigarettes, and and a joint, and I just start going back to the things I was doing before I met the church.
Yeah.
But kept always searching, and I had the faith still.
So something inside you had the faith, rebelling about the things that you're experiencing at the time. And how did this lead you to the Marvelous Work and Wonder?
I don't know, the first book I read that got me away from the church, thinking outside of the church, was Reincarnation, a Missing Link in Christianity. It was the first book, and I said it was a 2-year process. And then I read some other stuff, and I was reading. But that opened my mind, the reincarnation thing.
Yes.
And yeah, just this June 2014, just 3 months ago, kind of, 3 or 4, I just had the same questions. I was also obsessed for a while with the seal portion when I was in the church before.
Yes.
I came across that, and I knew it was something more. And my ex-wife can testify of me always wanting something more.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems we had.
So you would say one of the problems that you had in your marriage is you've always wanted something more. You always knew there was something more. You always wanted something more?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had questions, and like the gentleman before, which was an interesting story. I heard not all of it, but I got parts.
Yeah.
And he believes that he is Jesus Christ, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so I got to a conclusion shortly before the marriage that we all, at one point, maybe become Christ.
Yeah.
But not now. This is preparation.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So did you come across the sealed portion, or what led you directly to the work, Marvelous Work?
Yeah, just questioning. Okay, do I have time? I have to back a little bit.
Okay, no problem.
I threw away the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
2 years ago. Not threw it away. I just let it aside.
Okay.
And somehow I got back to the Book of Mormon. Last spring.
Okay.
And it was my niece's niece in Iceland. I was staying with her, and yeah, just somehow got back to the Book of Mormon, and I was just saying, okay, God, if you want me to go back to church, I go there. But I question the authority of the apostles and the prophet.
Yeah.
Because I was investigating on internet, their lives.
Yes.
And I just didn't. It contradicted itself.
Right.
And I questioned the authority of them, but I was willing to go back to church.
Yeah.
If that was the only thing.
Yeah.
And so I went on researching and came across Ida Smith in a seal portion.
Oh, you came across the Ida Smith video?
Video on the YouTube channel. And I just found it interesting and clicked on that.
Yeah.
And listened to her testimony of how she got to get the seal portion and just being this stout Mormon and receiving the seal portion. And I found that really interesting, and the woman just spoke truth to me. And from there I clicked to Christopher, and he just started to talk about real truth, as the viewers know. And it just resonated with me. I knew it from the first, the same power as I knew that Book of Mormon was true. I knew that Christopher was speaking the truth about the seal portion and the message that he had.
Right. So where were you at this time? Were you living in Iceland still, or where were you? You were in Iceland.
I was staying with my niece because I had to get out of my situation in Reykjavik.
Right.
So I went to first I stayed with my one niece a little bit far back. She lives on a country with a sheep and I stayed there for a month, and there I was reading the New Testament again, and then I went to my other niece. It's a little town of 600, 700 people. And there I found the Book of Mormon, which I gave to her when I was a stout member of the church.
Yeah.
And I read that, and yeah.
Oh, that's great. And so you started reading, you started feeling, you had the same feeling. What brought you here to the United States, and especially here to Utah?
Yeah, the first thing that, before I met the work, just like in early June, my impulse and my drive to go to America was to investigate the church, to see how the church works in Utah, where it's from.
So you actually wanted to come to Utah to see for yourself exactly.
Yeah. But shortly after that thought, just before I saw the work, and after I saw the work, that was my main purpose for coming. Yeah.
When you came here and you actually got to visit Utah, what was the first thing that you wanted to see?
I wanted to meet Christopher, see Christopher.
You wanted to meet Christopher?
Yeah.
When did you get a chance to meet Christopher?
At the last meet and greet.
The last meet and greet was the very first time.
Yeah. I came up there and and witnessed it for myself.
Was that at the Murray Park? Was that the Murray Park? Murray
Don't
Park.
remember the exact date.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's 2 weeks ago, a little bit more.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
And that was the first time you've ever. That was the very first time you've ever met Christopher.
Yeah. And I was. I was kind of a little bit. I was really curious to meet him, and I was also a little bit afraid.
A little bit afraid.
Yeah, because I believed that he was what he is telling, and me searching. I questioned myself maybe a little bit.
Right.
I want to know the truth, but I know that. That was also the main reason I was hesitating on getting baptized, because I questioned myself not being able to fulfill what God wanted me to do.
Right.
So I was, in that kind of sense, a little bit nervous to meet him, because I knew that as he touched you, he would knew what you were all about.
Yes.
And so but he's everything I expected and more.
Yeah. When you first met Christopher, what did you think? What went through your mind? What did you think of that meet and greet?
Yeah, just realized what he's been teaching through the internet. That he's just a man, and that with a special message, and don't want to be idolized or followed, and just a man like you and me.
Yeah.
With a special message.
Now, for the last couple weeks, you've kind of been able to. You've seen Christopher around Utah or whatever behind the scenes.
I've been privileged enough to meet him a few times.
What would you say? Would you say, obviously you see the show that we do here. You see Christopher on the TV. You see him on the show. When you meet him in real life, what do you feel?
Just warmth. He's just a nice guy who's just wants to do good and try his best, and his eyes.
Yeah.
Just the power in his eyes.
I was very happy to meet you over there the last meet and greet. And I was surprised that you came all the way. That's so far away to come from Iceland.
And I have a fear of flight.
You're afraid of flying. You're afraid of flying. Wow, that's incredible.
But not so much as I did used to. But
you got
used
to.
I've flown a lot. Yeah, so
that's good. Well, that's an incredible story to me for you to find that. And like I said, it's Christopher has always said, those people with a broken heart, the contrite spirit. People that really want to know is always going to find this work.
I believe that.
can you let me know a little bit about once you found this work, how was the reactions? I mean, did you have any reactions with your family or?
I was staying with a Mormon family in Canas, but 2 days ago I told my mom about it. Just wrote her a letter and told her that she could, if she wanted, read what he had to say about me on the
daily journal, on the
daily
journal. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if she checked it out or not. So.
Right.
But so my family doesn't really know about it, but yeah, maybe my niece a little bit because I was watching Christopher a lot.
Yeah.
In the beginning, at her place. And yeah, so. But yeah, she just wrote me back that she was glad for me, was happy for me, that I was getting answers from my questions. And, yeah.
Oh, good. So are you still in contact with the other family that's here in?
No, they didn't disagree with my path.
Oh, okay.
So they were hoping for me to, because they only knew me in Iceland. I was staying with a missionary couple that came to Iceland.
Oh, I see.
Shortly after I got baptized, and I got a lot of support from them. When I went to them in evenings and watched church movies and was drinking in all the information. And yeah, so I went to stay with them, and after I got to the meet and greet, the morning after, they kind of just were up front with me and just told me that I couldn't kind of not stay with them anymore. So.
Oh wow! So that was the end. At that point, they asked you to leave?
Yeah, but their daughter called me and she was upset about it.
Oh no!
She lived across the street, and I was also kind of involved in that family also. And she was upset about it and talked to her parents again, and they called me the day after that.
Yeah.
And told me I was welcome back if I wanted.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, but it would be strange.
Yeah.
And difficult for both parties.
How would you say your feeling is? How do you feel now with everything that's gone on? Yeah, there's a lot of trials there.
Mm-hmm. I feel a little bit confused. But I know this to be true, and I'm just a little bit confused where I'm fit into all of this. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, very good. Well,
am I supposed to go back to Iceland and be silent?
Yeah.
or
yeah. If I was going to say, what are your plans for the future?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just find your way. Just
yeah.
Listen to yourself and find your way.
Yeah, and listen to Christopher.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Well, you know what? I appreciate you coming down and spending some time. And it's really hard to be in front of the cameras and everything. You know what I mean? And to share your story, but
yeah.
I like to give
I've done it before,
everybody.
actually. I was asked to do it also when I just became a member of the church.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you're used to this a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. If someone in Iceland was watching this, okay, and you could talk in your own language, what do you have to tell them? Do you have anything you'd like to say?
In my own language?
Yeah. I would like to hear your language. And let's say if you want to talk to someone in Iceland and talk to them in your own language, go ahead and say something.
I would say to them, before I start doing that, I would just say to them the same things I would say to everybody, kind of.
And what's that?
In Icelandic.
Yeah.
So just continue being who you are and Icelandic, yeah. I kind of got into the English mindset.
I know, yeah, that's okay.
Já, bara, ég veit ekki hversu margir eru að horfa, sennilega ekki margir þessa stundina, en bara já, ég hér núna og frá Íslandi og bara, sérstaklega fjölskylda mín, ég sakna ykkar og já, bara, þú veist, svona er þetta, þú veist, að enginn er betri en annar og allir eru jafnir.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for taking your time out and being on our show today. And whatever you end up doing in life, I know I'm just very happy to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got some other guests here on the show, which I'm so excited to have on, and they traveled all the way from, is it Boise, Idaho? No, where's it? Preston, Idaho, and that's about how many hours away is that from? I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and let them introduce themselves. And you have the mic, so when you talk, just go ahead and talk. And you're going to be passing the mic back and forth, but go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Well, my name is Mark Butler, and I grew up in a small town in Utah, Corinne.
Oh, Corinne.
And I just grew up as a member of the church, thinking everything was happy. And
all right, good. And you?
Well, I'm Lynnette Butler. I actually grew up in New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So let me see. Okay, so you live in Preston, Idaho right now?
Well, it's actually Cub River, and Cub River is about an hour and 45 minutes away from Salt Lake.
Oh, okay.
We left this morning.
Oh, great. And so you obviously seen it on because this was the last minute posting I put on there. I didn't know if we were even going to have a show this week. Can you let me know a little bit about your background in the church? Let me get to know a little bit about you.
All right. I just grew up in the church. My parents were fairly inactive. My mother convinced me to go to church with her each week.
Yeah.
And so I went, but it wasn't real active. I never did comprehend anything about it. I never got a testimony of Joseph Smith until right before I went on my mission at 18. And then I had a mighty change of heart. I repented of all my supposed sins and everything, and I got a testimony of Joseph Smith and Christ. And I went on a mission, served, did what I could for the church, and since 18, I've just done everything I can for the church. And then 2 months ago, came across the sealed portion in Christopher, and everything's changed.
How did you find the sealed portion?
Okay, I was in church. The bishop walked by down the aisle shaking hands, and I got a feeling, that this isn't really the way things are supposed to be. Somebody putting himself above everybody else, or something like that. Anyway, yeah. I got the feeling, and I felt like he got the feeling, and I went home uncomfortable, and I went into the closet, walk-in closet, and I prayed, and I told Heavenly Father, if this is how thy kingdom is, I don't think I want to be a part of it. And the prayer ended, and the next couple days I found Christopher Ida Smith on the YouTube, and then I kept looking and found one of Christopher's, what do you call them? Episodes.
Yeah. One of
I started watching I think it was episode 7.
Wow.
It had the Urim and Thummim in there.
Right.
And I was convinced.
Wow. What did you think when you first listened to Ida Smith on that interview that she had?
Well, I didn't know anything about her or the marvelous work and the wonder, and I watched her program though, and I was impressed with it. And then I just went to another episode, and that had Christopher on it.
Yeah.
But I really loved Ida Smith and how she got excommunicated for reading the book.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Did you download the book, or how did
I downloaded every book.
Oh, you downloaded it all. Oh, great,
when I
great.
find truth, I love it, and I want to get all I can.
Yeah. Now, once you found this and you started seeing this, how did you ever approach your wife? Go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself now.
Okay. Do you want me to start?
Yes, go ahead and start. Yes, from.
Well, I was born and raised in New Jersey, and very, very strong LDS family.
Yeah.
And it became a really huge part of my life, especially in New Jersey, because there weren't other members, and
Right.
so it was pretty powerful part of who I was, and we all active and all involved, and I loved the church with all of my heart, and
Yes.
I didn't ever doubt or question anything, really. And it was like the most important thing to me in my life was to give the gospel, the church. I thought it was the gospel, but give it to my children, because it was such a huge part of my life and who I was. And anyway, I don't know. I married badly the first time, and when I ended up marrying Mark, it was this huge blessing in my life because he was strong in the church too. And our favorite thing to do together is to study the scriptures and to learn more. I mean, we spend a lot of time studying together, and that was one of the things that I really loved so much about him, is that he wanted to know the truth, and he was searching all the time, and so together we did that. And he came home. He had questions sometimes about things with the church, but I didn't feel the same as he did about it. Right. I just knew it was true, and I did have I knew I didn't know everything, and I loved to read the scriptures and try and find things that would bless me in my life, but I never looked outside the church, although I was not afraid to look at things outside the church. I've experienced, lots of people of different religions, and I was willing to look at anything because I was convinced if the church is true, then it would stand up to anything. I mean, and I was living all of the commandments that I knew and believed, and so I was worthy to have the Holy Ghost to help make me strong and discern right from wrong. And so he came home. He worked one night, and when he got home the next morning, I think it was, we were talking, and he said, "I've been reading this sealed portion." And I was like, "What? What?" And he said he found it on the internet, and I was like, "Well, I want to read it." And so he downloaded it on my phone, I think, and so then we just started reading it together, and once we started reading it, like, completely consumed us. I mean, we just couldn't put it down. We read it every minute that we could when we were together, and when he would go to work, he would, try and listen to it or whatever he could do, and I would read it. I didn't vacuum the house for like a week. I couldn't get anything done. It was all I could do, but it was so huge that because it was so different than what I thought it would be. When I first started reading it, I was more skeptical than Mark. Mark saw that the Ida Smith and Christopher, and he already felt really good about it. Right. I was like, I don't know about this, sure. But I was open-minded to it. I mean, I had been looking. I mean, I knew the sealed portion was supposed to come, and I wanted to know. I wanted to know if it was true. Right. And so but it was a harder journey for me because I was open to the possibility, after reading lots of things in the scriptures, that it might not come through the church. I was kind of open to that, but I was still hesitant about it. Mm-hmm. I still really believed in the prophet and the leaders of the church, and I just, like the week before, had been bearing my testimony to my children and at church about the truthfulness of it, and so it was quite a journey for me. He knew really fast. I knew pretty fast too. I knew within a few days, but it took me a while to acknowledge it. Right. Because it's thinking like how this is really going to change my life, how this was going to affect relationships I had with people, my children, my family, my everything.
Tell me that is one of the most scariest things. Yeah. You know what I mean? That someone could go through. I mean, I'm still in that journey. You know what I mean? Yeah. I sometimes when I met you, I have a hard time wiping tears off my eyes all the time because
Yeah.
I can feel for you. I feel for you because I'm in that same journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
grew up-
yeah. It is. It's huge.
The
but
church was everything to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, when you believe something with all of your heart and you give everything into it, and you know, from when you wake up in the morning till you go to bed at night, it's on your mind. You think about it. You talk about. I mean, the things and everything that I did to bring me comfort and peace revolved around the church. When I'd be upset about something, I would sing the hymns. I would put on conference talks and listen to them all day. I would the scriptures. My children always felt like I was so fanatical, you know, like Mom, but it was like my life. And then to read the sealed portion and to realize that I was really off track, that I was going the wrong direction, and I didn't. It just changed my heart. And it was so different than my experiences in the church, because I've had many experiences where I felt like the Spirit had testified things to me, but when I read the sealed portion, it was like I remembered. It was so deep down inside of me, like I just could not deny the truth of it, no matter what arguments, no matter how different it was than everything that I had ever thought. I couldn't deny the truth of it because I could feel it down inside of me. Like, I remember this, and which was a different feeling than I'd had experienced.
Yeah, that's wow. I totally know how you feel, and once you get a hold of it, like Ida Smith, I had the opportunity to interview her.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to meet her. The
Yeah.
same road that we've all taken.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to get that interview with her, and to see her and to listen to her. The minute that she got that sealed portion in her hands, she locked everything away. And tell me what my mind. I went through so many sleepless nights. Thinking about it. You know what I mean? Tell me what happened with you guys. You know.
Like, here we're 2 months later, we still can't get through the night without waking up and talk. We can't.
Yeah.
Last night, she opened up her notebook and we started reading.
Like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
3 in the morning, you know, or we can't. It's consuming.
Yeah.
It's so amazing, especially if you've been looking for the truth, especially when you feel like it's like even though I felt like I had the truth on many levels, I knew that I didn't have all of the truth.
Right.
I knew that the prophets knew more than us. I knew when I read in the scriptures, they talked about things that you know, that we have never heard, or that were written but we weren't allowed to see. I mean, I knew all those things, and now it's like my cup is I feel so humble all the time. Like, I don't know anything. I just want to learn and learn and learn and learn, because there's so much to know.
Yeah, there is so much to know. And everyone's on this journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This joy, this immense joy that you feel, and this freedom that you finally find out, you want to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
And being a part of the LES Church and everything, you're always saying every member of missionary, go out there and teach everyone. But then all of a sudden you listen to Christopher, and it's not like that, right?
But I could see how you can't. You have to want it. You have to want it, because it changes your life forever. It changes who. Before we started reading this, and Mark was having his own experiences, and I was having mine, and I knew when I read the scriptures, sometimes I would have questions, or even my life, I sometimes had questions, and I would pray for answers, and I felt like I wasn't getting all the answers, you know, and I started really thinking about what it says about searching them if you're ready, and if you're sincere, and if you are you worthy, you know, all the different things. And I started thinking, well, I must not be worthy, because I know that I'm sincere. I know that I really want to know, and I'm doing everything. So I started really praying, like, where am I not worthy? What am I doing that's wrong? Because I couldn't find anything according to the teachings of the church that I wasn't doing. And so I started really praying for that. And when I read the sealed portion, it totally it humbled me so much. And it showed me what I needed to repent of.
Yeah.
What I needed to change in my heart and who I was. And sorry. It changes who you are. So for us to go and try and get everyone else to listen and do what we want them to do is imposing on people
on their free
who
will.
may not want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because you have to be, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to go, I'm wrong, or I've been wrong, or what I believed wasn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective, because when you are part of the church, the LDS Church, and you have the Book of Mormon, you have all these things, you can't say that your life isn't happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt really happy.
You enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're doing good, but you're always, you know what? When I listen to Christopher, or then he has this post about being passive aggressive.
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know what? I teach that way, or I honestly feel that way.
Yeah.
And when he wrote that, it makes you look in the mirror and say, on the outside, I look like a pretty good guy. Yeah. But on the inside, if you don't agree with me, sometimes I just kind of feel sorry for you and say, well, gosh, man, if you just had the Book of Mormon, if you only seen the perspective in my perspective, your life would be so much better, you know what I mean? Yeah. And who am I to judge somebody like that?
It's our own journey.
Isn't it crazy? It's like I'm so humbled now, you know what I mean? That, wow. But I always remember those scriptures that says, when the minute that you start saying all is well in Zion, hey, all is well in Zion, and that's the stuff that I've always been in the back of my mind saying that I can't be like that. Yeah. Because the minute I am like that, I'm going to miss the boat. And all these things about Joseph Smith, and no man knows my history, and all the things that he said, if you knew what I knew, you'd kill me. And I says, what are those things that Joseph Smith knew that he would want to be killed? I want to know. You could tell me, I'll keep it quiet, I'll keep it a secret. Yeah. You tell me, all of a sudden you come across this. What other books, or what books have you really, for me, it was all of them. I went to this one, I seen the sealed portion, but the Joseph Smith meant a lot to me, because it always, in my patriarchal blessing, says, study Joseph Smith, learn about Joseph Smith. There's nothing that he wrote in his own hand, so everything was hearsay, you know what I mean? What were some of the books that you enjoyed, or that you're reading right now, or some of the topics that is different in your mindset, or what you found that... Do
you want to answer it first?
Well, Christopher has said that we are gods, all of us, and there's nobody above another, and we need to love ourselves with all our heart, might, mind, and strength, and then we need to love our neighbor as ourselves. And it's so simple, and that's the gospel. And it's so simple.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it makes me rejoice. I'm rejoice and be exceedingly glad when others hate you and persecute you. It gives you an attitude and a perspective that is simple. It's basic. And it's not all the doctrines of men and the commandments of men. Never has been. But when you grow up with that, and that's how you think it is, and to toe the line, you gotta live every one. The word of wisdom, you gotta live it all in order to make it.
Yeah.
And that's not how it is.
Yeah. See, this is why I love him, because as I'm going through my turmoil of changing my life, he's like, rejoice and be glad.
Yeah.
I know, you're right. I know, I will.
Yeah.
Know,
that's so funny.
He's so awesome. The books, I'm really glad I read the sealed portion first. I think it was the most important for me at the time. I think it was the best transition. Mm-hmm. But I love I can't get enough of any of it. Every book has meant something to me. We read the sealed portion first, and then we read Joseph Smith biography, which was really really important to read for us then, because it filled the holes and answered the questions like, how did this all happen? And that really helped me a lot. But we've also been reading Sacred Not Secret, which has been so amazing. First time to ever understand the temple endowment, and we've gone lots and lots and lots and lots of times to the temple.
Now this is something I always ask people, because we went through the temple. My wife we got sealed in the temple. She went through the temple. She came through the veil, and her face was like, "What the heck just happened?"
Yeah.
Well, I'm more confused coming through here than I had to look at her and say, "Yeah, but wasn't it cool that you learned all the stuff that we're gonna go in and now now it's like, no, I don't know anything. How am I going to remember that? How am I going to do that? You better remember my name." She's so worried that I have a bad memory short like that. And like, I'll remember your name. Don't worry about it. But I asked, and she says, okay, throughout this whole time, you can't ask anything. But she asked the workers, she asked the people over there, and everyone gave her the same thing. Well, keep coming. One day it'll enlighten you. One day this, one day that. What did you think when you read that Sacred Not Secret book?
Oh, it is amazing. It answered so many questions. Everything made sense for the first time ever.
For the first time.
For the first time. When I first went to the temple, I was overwhelmed too. I didn't understand anything. As I went year after year after year after year, some things started to make some sense.
Right.
But there was still in fact, we were going to the temple every week until this happened. And just the last time we went, I was sitting there thinking, what exactly does this mean about certain part? And then we read the sealed portion, and there were all the answers, all of them, and they made sense. And they, everything just made sense. That's the thing, is everything makes sense. Even new concepts that I never thought of before, that at first are like, they blow me away.
Yeah.
Then I keep reading. If I keep reading and I keep searching and I keep within myself trying to understand, it all starts to make sense. It all starts to connect, and then it's like I just know it's true. So,
well, Michael goes to sleep, and he's asleep during the whole thing, and then at the end, we're told Joseph Smith never could get this into it because Brigham Young took it out, that Michael wakes up at the end and he realizes it's like a dream. Our lifetime is like a big dream, and then we supposedly die and we wake up and we think, wow, that was a big dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if we don't get it, we'll go around again. And we may go around many times.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes more sense than one chance to get it right, which seems impossible if everybody's like me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, Michael wakes up and he realizes that he's got a lot to learn. We have a lot to learn.
And that's why I found so poignant, that video that was shown at the very beginning of this, and it was really hard to even see it here, but we'll go back and you'll be able to watch it. But like Christopher said over there, that's probably one of the best videos that someone could watch. You know what I mean? And it talks all about this, all about Joseph Smith, all about the temple ceremony, these things, and it gives someone that is honestly looking and seeking to find real truth these ideas. And you start thinking, I wasn't that off all the way. It really, when this is, it brings back to your remembrance the things that you have. I mean, don't you feel that same way, that a lot of these things you kind of already knew, or deep down inside?
Have you seen that new show, The Giver?
I'm sorry,
The Giver.
The Giver, no, I haven't.
It's a new show just come out. And it's like Christopher. The Giver restores our knowledge of the stuff we've forgotten.
Right.
And he's given us this knowledge so that we can go forward and progress.
Right.
It's an amazing show.
It's amazing. I get so excited to see people like you that find it on their own. And this is what the whole marvelous work and wonder. When you really look at it, you think, how the heck did anyone find it? I look at this. I'm so emotional because my wife. I mean, we're the same thing. I mean, we're like parallels, lifetimes. We're talking about this 24 hours a day. We've never talked about church like this. We've never been that. I mean, we always felt like we got to go to church. We felt really good about getting sealed in the temple. And then when you go around, you wonder, how is it that other members of the church can't see or won't even allow their mind to be open enough to even look at the thing? And I think that's what causes the pain inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because people are comfortable.
Yeah.
And change isn't comfortable. And I think that, especially in our situation, I think there are so many people that are more afraid of it because they know I left the church. And that makes them, that's where they're comfortable. They believe the church is true. And if she would leave the church over this, then I don't want any part of it.
No.
I don't want anything that's going to take me away from what I believe. And you know, we're taught in the church over and over. I taught my children, my parents taught me. We're taught that the prophet can't lead us astray. And so looking outside of that is a scary place. But it shouldn't be, because we should be able to search the truth wherever. The truth should stand up for itself. I've never felt like I can't look at anything else because of that. Because if I'm doing my part and I'm really searching and I'm sincere, then I should have protection. I should have protection that I can discern what's right and wrong. Why wouldn't I? That's promised to us. It's promised to us in the scriptures. Like, am I an exception to the rule that I'm not going to have that protection for some reason? Because I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do as far as I know.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difference. That's what makes me the most sad, is I think how many people are so afraid.
Well, we were trying to do all we could, and so we were what the members of the church would say were the elect.
Yeah, the elect, the golden.
The elect just got deceived, and now we got the devil in us. And
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
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 Oh, trust me. I think that's the most shocking. You know, when people say, you know, the elect in the last days will be deceived, even those people will fall away and things like this. But what do you say about the Holy Ghost? Do you feel the same spirit, the same feeling, the same that you've always felt guiding you still? I mean, are you being led by the same Holy Ghost you've always felt your entire life?
I feel it right now, the same feeling. It's strong. When I was reading the sealed portion and when I'd listen to Christopher, I would feel it. I would feel it. The manifestations of the Spirit. That's what they are.
Yeah.
And they're the same, and I'm not a member of the church now, but I still feel it.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed inside here.
No. And the wonderful thing about it, when you look at it and you hear Christopher saying, "Don't follow me," you know what I mean? I'm just here. I just do my job, and I'm the messenger. Yeah. And you remember, everything says, "Follow no man." You know what I mean? Follow nothing. But these are the books. They're here. They're here for you to look at. And like I said, it bothers me. It's the same thing with Moses putting the cross up there with the people, the serpents, and that whole story where you just look at the cross and you will be saved. It's like, just look at it. How many people were so blind to not even want to look at it? I mean, to me, that's a fable. It's a story, but it's so poignant in what's happening right now.
To me, Christopher was a big stumbling block for me.
Oh, yeah.
I started reading the sealed portion, and then Mark came home after a couple days, and he's like, "You got to watch this."
Yes.
He starts showing me, and it was terrifying to me. It was a huge, he was not what I expected.
Right.
At all. And then I was in this huge conundrum because I was like, he can't possibly be the one, but this I know is true.
Yeah.
And how can this be true and he not be the one? It was a really big struggle for me. And I had to really I struggled with that for a couple days, really more than that, for a little while, really bad. But I came around to realizing that, for me anyway, he's the perfect messenger, because I don't want to be just like him. I don't want to become him. I want to learn from him. I want to read the words, and because of the way he is. And now I really respect him, and I think the world of him from what I know. But he's not the kind of person that I would just blindly just follow him. He challenges me. He makes me seek inside of myself and find out for myself. So I'm not following a man. I'm figuring it out on my own.
Right.
And he's just providing everything that I need to find the truth. And I'm so grateful for how he is now. I like, even all this past, family and friends will bring up all this stuff on the internet and all these things about him. I'm like, I don't even care. I don't care. It's not about Christopher. This is not about him. This is way bigger than Christopher. He's a messenger, and I'm grateful for him, and I appreciate his calling, and was a huge stumbling block for me has become a testimony builder for me. It's switched places, and that it makes it all the more real to me.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the kind of man that would be sent down to test us and to push us and to get us to look at our own selves and not just blindly follow this perfect man that doesn't do anything wrong ever in our minds.
That's why I'm so interested in listening to like which books attract you the most, because when you look at the marvelous work and wonder, each one of those books is made for the entire world. It's not just a religious thing. Like, when you hear this and people say, oh, this is a religious show, it's not a religious show.
No.
You know what I mean? But here's all the books. We've got just these many books right now, but there's going to be more books coming out. But, for anyone that's LDS, you read the sealed portion. What is going to help you? What took you out and finally made you realize where you were once you were comfortable where you were, the sealed portion? Yeah. And then you read Joseph Smith and all those questions, the polygamy, why a Book of Abraham, why this, why he got murdered, why all these things. And then you've got this Sacred Not Secret book, all made for the LDS people. Then you've got the Book of Revelation, the 666 book. Have you had a chance to read that book yet?
He's finished the whole thing. I've read some of it. I haven't finished yet. And we're also reading Human Reality together.
Oh,
and see, that is amazing. I love that book, but I don't know how well I would have taken it straight from the church.
No.
If someone had said, here, read this Human Reality, I would have thought, well, that's an interesting book. But I don't think it would have connected, because the path that I needed to go on was the path I went on. And that's what I needed.
Yeah. So does it make sense when you hear Chris saying, these books were all made for a specific person, a specific type of person?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure some people probably would go on a totally different path to get where they are, because it depends where your mindset is. It depends where you are and what you're looking for and what you're open to and accepting of.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things I don't think that I would have been open. I would have listened. I wasn't afraid to read it, but I don't think it would have meant anything to me. But the sealed portion meant a lot to me because the scriptures meant a lot to me. And the scriptures prophesied of all those things, and it connected. And as we'd read the sealed portion, we could pull out our scriptures, and I would pull out my Book of Mormon and compare and look, and like they work together,
Yeah.
There wasn't contradictions. It was just a different way of interpreting them than I had interpreted that. But it wasn't any contradictions. It worked together. And so, what about you?
What about me? My leg's going to sleep.
It's like...
But anyway, the sealed portion is very important for a member to read first, because it relates to the Book of Mormon. And if you are familiar with the Book of Mormon, and you've got the clues from the Book of Mormon along the way, the sealed portion will convince you. And it convinces you about the families, the temples, all those things that we think are necessary that are not part of the gospel. They're just part of the church and the doctrines and precepts of men. And the sealed portion has a revelation from the beginning to the end. And it explains everything. But if people would just read it, that's all they need to do is read it.
Just read it. I mean, and that's the frustrating thing. When it's so easy for people that say or ask you, why did you leave the church? Or and it's like, it's almost uncomfortable. It's like, I didn't leave the, I mean, how do you answer something like that? You know, he says, have you been in my shoes? I mean, because obviously if you read these books, if you really had an open mind, you'd probably be doing the same thing. But if you really want to know my journey, then you have to take it upon yourself to do the work.
That's what we have. That's what we just keep telling people is you're going to have to read the book. There is nothing that I can do to convince anyone of what I believe. There's nothing and I know that because nobody could have convinced me.
No.
There's just no way. I knew it was true. I would have listened. I would have been polite. I would have even thought about it, but nobody would have convinced me the way that the book did. Just reading the book is what made the difference.
Okay.
We were in the store yesterday, and this guy in our ward come up to us and started asking us questions, and that's all it took.
Oh, wow.
As soon as he asked questions, we told him whatever he wanted to know, and gave him a book, a sealed portion, and as far as we know, he's reading it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Well, you know what? It's a funny thing here because I have I got Dominic. I have a special guest on the phone here, and let me go ahead and put it on speaker and see if I can get this on. Okay, we got it on speaker. Hello. Yeah.
People hear me.
I think we got Christopher online. So
You guys got me on the speakerphone.
this is a speakerphone. However, is on the back here. Okay, here we go. Okay,
There
go
you
ahead,
go.
Christopher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I can be heard. Can the Butlers hear me also?
Can you hear him? No. It's kind of hard. It's really loud in here. That's why we're using the handheld mics because it's loud in here and it's hard to hear you. But
Gotcha.
I can scoot
repeat
up with
what I
them.
said.
Okay.
Basically, what I want to say is, what, Lynnette? You don't believe in me and don't put me on a pedestal. Come on, girl. What's going on there?
Yeah, no. Here, listen. I'll give you to her just a second. You put it by the mic and you listen to her.
Give me to the Butlers so that they can hear me on speakerphone, and then I can have them put their mic up to it.
We can hear you now.
Good. Hi. Hey, listen. I'll tell you guys. I've been watching your interview, and thank heavens for technology. I've never heard such a profound, sincere interview, and something that you said finally what was said. I've always waited for one person, and I'm sure maybe others have said it, but it hasn't been recorded, to finally recognize what I'm all about. And Lynnette, you hit it better and described it better than anyone I have ever heard, and that's this. I am like I am, and I'm supposed to be like I am. Been trained my whole life to be like I am for one simple purpose, so that when I was called to do this work, people would not look to me. They would look to the message. That the messenger, just like Christ was to the Jews, would become the cornerstone, this great stumbling block. But it's the message that's important, because the message comes from the Father, which we know what that is. It comes from within you. And the things that you said were just awesome. And I love this interview, and I hope it goes on some more, but I just want to let you guys know that, Lynnette, I just loved how you described, because some people don't understand that I go out of my way at times to avoid a person following me as a prophet, as a guru, or anything else than just a person that can help you to teach yourself. So, girl, you hit it right on the button, and I just wanted to call, and I know there's not a call-in, but I thought I'd get on the speakerphone and just let you know that that's it. You hit the key. The key is that every single person is endowed with what you know now as the Holy Spirit, which is their connection with their advanced self, with God. And through that connection, the Holy Spirit, you're going to know the truth of all things. The things that a messenger does, and this comes right from the Christian Bible, the apostles were worried that when Christ left, they wouldn't be able to handle things. And Christ said this is a profound part of the New Testament. When I leave, I'm going to leave the Comforter, and he's going to bring to your remembrance all the things that I've said, or what you need to know. And that's exactly what a true messenger does. He does not teach anything that you don't already know. That's why it feels so comforting. That's why you have this testimony that you and Mark are talking about, that they know through the Holy Spirit these things are true. And you know it because you've already known them. If they're the things that you received before this world was, things that you've always known as in a human being. And so, hey, all I'm saying is this. The way that you described your meeting with me as a stumbling block and it being a testimony to this work is profound, because there are so many things out there in this world that can deceive people, and so many things that have. We're talking about the David Koresh's, these prophets, these gurus, these people that suck people into their following, get them to worship this man, and pretty soon they're just so blinded that they do anything this man wants, which destroys their life.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
your
you.
testimony of why a true messenger has to be exactly how I've developed over my life. And there's been training. They've trained me. I could easily been overcome by humility and became a different type of messenger, like the brothers. If someone were to meet John, the beloved, for example, perfect man, you could find nothing wrong with it, nothing at all. And he knows and can speak many more languages than I can, and he can present things that are marvelous. You would start to gravitate to worship that man. You would worship him. You would want to be in his presence and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But thank heavens that folks like you that come and say, wait a minute, I got a problem with Christopher, but this message, this is for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, I appreciate you guys. You can give that phone back to Tony and go on with your interview, because I think this is one of the best I've ever heard. I'm glad I was able to tune in to hear it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
And,
what you've done.
Continue on. Don't worry about me. It's all about you guys.
Don't worry, we're not. But we do appreciate what you've done. We do appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Well, continue on, you two.
Okay.
All right, we got there.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Okay, goodbye there. All right, well, there you have it. You know, that's. I didn't get to hear all of it because I was over here, but I'll go back and I get to listen to what I said. Maybe go ahead and recap or rephrase anything that you.
Well, he just was concurring what I said about the messenger, and it for me, he's the best messenger that I could have had, really, because especially for me, because I'm a follower, and I have never had a lot of confidence in myself. I've never felt like I could do it on my own, and so this has been a challenge to really find out for myself without anyone else being a part of that decision. Mark was along beside me, but it was me on my own and him on his own. And I think the way that Christopher has been profound for me, because I was used to following my leaders.
Yeah.
And now I don't. Now I'm learning to do it myself.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know.
So when they say, when you learn the truth will what?
Make you free.
Set you free. I feel like the genie that just got out of the bottle. I'm free.
That's wonderful.
And I feel like I have times where I want to get back in the bottle because it's it's all on me now. You know, it was really easy to blame it on other people. When I got divorced I was married before and I got divorced, and I remember a time after my divorce where it really hit me like a ton of bricks that I'm responsible for raising my children on my own now, because he was no longer part of the picture at all. Right. And it hit me that even though my marriage has been really hard and there have been really a lot of things that we disagreed on, and I always kind of had this part inside of me that felt like I could blame him if the kids didn't turn out. There was kind of this little, and then all of a sudden it was like, it's not, no, it's on me now. It's 100% on me. And it's the same kind of feeling now with this, is like, no excuses. There's no excuses. This is the truth. I can take it or leave it. I can do with it what I want. And the truth helps me to understand why I'm here and the purpose of everything, but it doesn't tell me what to do on a day-to-day basis. No. I have to figure that out myself. Right. And so on the one hand, it makes you free. It's amazing that way. On the other hand, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes, but it's such a good thing. It's a good thing. That's what it's about. I used to wonder, I used to really wonder about going to the celestial kingdom. I'm like, I follow my husband, I follow my leaders, I follow. So how someday am I supposed to be a God? Yeah. I really wondered that. Like, I don't really know how that magically is going to happen if I just follow, and now I'm dead and I'm in the celestial kingdom and I'm going to be in charge of my worlds and how does that work? Because I just was always kind of in the back of my mind that somehow it's got to work, but I don't know. And now this answers. It's not about that. It's not about follow, and all of a sudden magically. What? Yeah, it's about me making my own decisions and being empowered and knowing, finding out for myself what is right for me. What am I supposed to do? What's my purpose? And what direction am I supposed to go? And I feel like I feel like all these people I'm surrounded by searching for the truth, and all have found this wonderful truth, and then I kind of got it by default because of my husband. Really, and I mean, I obviously was open to it, and I had my own journey and my own thing, but what a blessing to be married to a man who really diligently was searching outside of the boundaries of where we, where I'd been trained my whole life to stay. But that being said, I'm still my own person, and I still have to figure out me.
No, that's so true. And the thing is, now that you found this and you're on your journey here, you've seen what happened with Ida Smith. Yeah. You've seen what happened.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing. Very strong, beautiful woman.
She's amazing.
There's always that possibility that people will come back and say, well, this and that and that. In my opinion, for me, I've always told my wife, I'm fine with whatever anybody wants to do to me. That's okay. Yeah. And I'll smile and I'll say, if that's your decision, you will never take away the joy and the thing that I have inside. Never. Yeah. How do you react to something like that, especially now that your family and other people's found things like that? What is your perception on if?
Well, Mark is more like you. Do you want to talk first? I'll talk for me. He's more like that, but I'm not. I've always loved people. I've always been kind of I don't like contention. I really like people. I like to be around them. So it's been really difficult for me, but the bottom line is, and always will be, and always has been, in my whole life with my own insecurities and struggles, the two things I've always loved the most about myself are, first of all, my integrity, that I've always tried to do what's right, always, the best that I know. And I can't, and that's what this is about, is having integrity. And the other is that whenever I've been wrong and I realize I'm wrong, I'm willing to change. And because of those two things, they've been like an anchor to me my whole life. then it doesn't matter what anybody says or does or feels, and it might hurt, but it doesn't change who I am, because I know for myself that this is true. And I could never live with myself denying that,
Right.
ever. And so no matter whatever things, nothing can take that away from me.
Nothing.
I tried to raise my children, that integrity was like the most important thing, because it's one of the only things that we have in this life that nobody can take from us. You can lose your life, you can lose your money, you can lose your family, you can lose your job, your friends, whatever. All kinds of things can be taken from you in this lifetime. But nobody can take your integrity from you. And because of that, it's always been really important to me that I keep my integrity, because it's mine. Mm-hmm. It's mine, it's who I am. And so knowing something to be true and then going back on it because it's difficult or scary or uncomfortable would be giving that away. And I just can't do that.
Yeah. No.
No matter how much it hurts, no matter what anybody says or thinks.
Right. No, that's so great. Well, I appreciate you so much coming down to Salt Lake today and everything. And this hasn't been your only time. You came down a couple weeks ago for the very, very first time to the same meet and greet that we got to meet Ziggy over here.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was on your mind? What do you think when you were coming down to Utah to meet the people, these wonderful people of the Marvelous Work and Wonder, and here's a meet and greet. Anyone can come out. Tell me your experience.
Well, I'm not a big talker, and I'm not a big socializer, and but I have tried to love people, and love myself, and love others, and treat them with respect and reverence, because we're all children of God. And so I was anxious to come and talk with the people that believed like I do, and it's been important to meet everybody and socialize with them and hear their stories. And I've always wanted to be part of the work of the Father. In the Book of Mormon, it talks about the work of the Father often, and I've always felt like I just wanted to be part of that work. And it's wonderful to be with others who have found it, and just be able to do whatever we can to help it.
I was really excited. I had been lots of negativity for a month and a half since we started, and I just couldn't wait to meet people who could relate. Because I tell people, like, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you're being deceived, blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing that I could say that they could understand. And even I wrote in my blog, and I tried to cover everything I could think of, all the arguments, and still people, they don't get it, they don't understand, and they won't unless they want to understand. They won't. But it was so nice to just come down and meet with other people that could relate. And we, both of us, afterwards, especially the next morning, because it was a long drive, we got home really late, and we got up the next morning, and both of us were just like glowing and thinking we'd never experienced such acceptance and love from people we didn't even know, and to be 8 hours down with strangers that don't, and yet not anything negative. I was thinking I was probably the most negative person there by saying that things were hard, and I didn't want to be negative. It made me want to be different. I can change who I am. I don't want to be that way. I want to feel and be like everyone else that is living the way they're supposed to live, for their own selves, for who they need to be. Anyway, it was a great experience for both of us. It was.
Well, great. Well, I want to say thank you again for driving down. It might not seem like to you a big sacrifice, but to us and everyone here, we love to see anyone that has found the work and the changes that you make in your life, because all we can say, everybody can say here, we can just laugh and agree and say, yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about, and we're so excited that you found it also.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. We're really, really grateful.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up today, and this is going to be the end of the long, long, marvelous work and wonder. But like I said, you never know what's going to happen, and for me producing the show, a lot of times I don't have a clue what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I wait for Christopher to walk in, and I told Laura, wouldn't it be great if Christopher said something, and he calls in. See, I don't, who knows what's going to happen? We don't know. Anyway, I want to thank the establishment here, Cafe Neo's Coffee House. Again, I have to say, if you like the coffee of the gods, this is the place to come. I want to say thank you for them. They've been very hospitable for letting us set up here. They do it for free. And they have wonderful breakfast, and the staff is wonderful, and they're great. And also, breakfast, lunch, and great coffee. But anyway, we will be back with some more Marvelous Work and a Wonder. Hopefully next week. I've been working on some more of Ida Smith, and also the Patricia and Harold Ward is their story is about to come up. I just have to do a few more things on their story, but you'll be able to watch it. And we do have a meet and greet, though, coming next Sunday. So if you're out here, next show, I'm pretty sure we might not have a show next week, but at 2:00 p.m. we will have a meet and greet over at the Garden Park condos, right there in the clubhouse. So I will post that information on the website, on Facebook. Have a phone number you can call and anything. But anybody, if you see this, let's say you just barely came onto the work, come down, come say hello. I'm sure you're going to see many friendly faces, and join the experience. I want to say thank you all for coming out to for watching today, and we'll see you next time on the Marvelous Work and a Wonder television show. Thank you.
As a driver, you probably spend a lot on your car. You spend hours a week just getting to work and back, and you spend a lot of money on gas. Thousands of dollars a year, in fact. And we're just talking about driving to work. Also, think about the time and cost of oil changes and routine engine repairs. And while you're putting so much into your vehicle, harmful exhausts are what's coming out. Pollution is rising, and our future has never been in more danger. What's the real cost of harming the environment? And if there's a solution to save our planet and your budget, what's that really worth to you? Introducing Filter Green International, a company that finally has a real solution. Be a positive change in the world without changing your lifestyle with Filter Green's complete proactive maintenance program, the only total solution to save the environment and save you money.